Chapter 370. What if the blue crystal shattered? How was he supposed to inject vital energy into it? How was he supposed to pass the trial? Lin was completely dumbstruck when the crystal shattered. He didn't expect something like this to happen. Thinking back to what had just happened, it seemed like the crystal had shattered because his sword projection had struck it, and Lin began to cry at his own stupidity. When he saw the power of frost released by the crystal, he immediately retreated in a frenzy. However, his speed was no match for the speed at which the frost was spreading. In the blink of an eye, everything in the chamber had been frozen solid, and Lin's body was rooted to the spot, and his blood began to congeal. Even every single cell in his body had fallen silent. Even his origin energy of the netherworld had been frozen solid. He felt a bone-chilling cold, as if his consciousness was about to dissipate. Just as he was about to lose consciousness, and Lin saw a figure slowly walking toward him from within the blue mist that had erupted from the crystal. This was a beautiful woman in a white dress. She had a tall and lithe figure, and her skin was as fair as snow. She exuded a cold and aloof aura as she walked. She rolled her eyes with displeasure as she looked at the frozen Lin. Waves of shock surged through Lin's heart. Holy F***, why is she here? The woman was none other than Bai Ling. She had appeared from within the blue mist after the crystal had exploded. Her figure was so abrupt and unexpected. Just as Lin was about to lose consciousness from the cold, the frost within the chamber converged toward Bai Ling's body, and the frozen space around them also instantly disappeared. Lin's body suddenly became light, and he fell backward like a zombie. Thump! The sound of something hard colliding erupted. His body had successfully crashed into the ground, but he didn't feel any pain. There was nothing he could do. His entire body was frozen solid, and he hadn't even recovered yet. Even his sense of pain had completely disappeared. On the other side, Dabai was also lying on the ground like a statue. Bai Ling made her way over to Lin's side and squatted down. She poked Lin's stiff cheek with her slender index finger and pursed her lips. "Tell me, are you crazy?" Lin. Bai Ling glared at Lin. "Just focus on your training. Why do you have to use your sword to strike the crystal? Don't you know how difficult it is for me to cast spells in the crystal? If you continue to slash like this, not only will the crystal be broken, but even I, who is inside, will also almost be cut in half. What you're doing is destroying public property and endangering the mainframe safety. It's a capital offense, do you understand?" And Lin's mouth twitched. F***, I really didn't know you were casting a spell in the crystal, big sister. His lips trembled, and under the effect of the evergreen longevity, he finally managed to regain the ability to speak. Speaking of which, isn't this the trial grounds of the Purple Star Ruins? Isn't this the trial of extreme frost? Why are you, a mainframe, acting as a checkpoint in the crystal? This is a human service, do you understand? If I didn't do this, how would I increase the difficulty for you? Bai Ling looked at the man on the ground with a disdainful expression. Human service? Increase the difficulty? And Lin almost threw up a mouthful of blood upon hearing this. He glowered at Bai Ling. "You're trying to increase the difficulty for me? No wonder I couldn't get close to the blue crystal even after using all of my trump cards. How could there be such a freakish spirit-nurturing stage checkpoint in this world? You're the one behind all of this." Bai Ling chuckled coldly. "What? You're not convinced? I have the final say in these ruins. If you don't have the courage to rise to the occasion, how are you worthy of the precious inheritance of the Purple Star Ruins?" And Lin's lips twitched. He had already experienced Bai Ling's shamelessness when he and his team had been forced to buy and sell items. Who would have thought that she would be forced to increase the difficulty of the trial this time? Was there still any reason? Was there still any law? Then, do I pass this trial or not? And Lin asked feebly. He had already made up his mind. One day, when he achieved phenomenal success, he was definitely going to beat the crap out of Bai Ling. Bai Ling seemed to be hesitating for a moment before replying. "Even though the way you handled the trial wasn't very appropriate, I'll still open the back door for you out of consideration for our past friendship. You've passed this trial. What the F*** are you talking about? You're secretly increasing the difficulty for me out of consideration for our past friendship? Lin was furious, but he still forced a smile onto his face. Thank you for your kindness, big sister Bai. I'll be sure to continue working hard. Good boy. There's still one more trial. After you pass it, you'll be able to receive all of the information about the Purple Star ruins. Bai Ling patted Lin's head with a gentle expression of encouragement. This was the first time Lin had been patted on the head like this, and goosebumps erupted all over his body. However, his attention was still drawn to the last trial that Bai Ling mentioned. What's the last trial like? Can you tell me, big sister Bai? Lin spoke with an affectionate expression as he rubbed his head against Bai Ling's soft palm. I can't tell you, but I can tell you that I won't be providing any human services for the last trial, so I won't give you any reward of love. It'll be an original trial, Bai Ling replied with a smile. Reward of love, my *s. Isn't it just extra difficulty? Why do you have to make it sound so nice? Just as Lin was grumbling internally, Bai Ling had already stood up, and her gentle expression turned frosty again. Congratulations, you have passed the trial of extreme frost. You may now proceed to the next trial. Her body transformed into specks of light again as she spoke. Lin lay on the ground for a moment before standing up shakily. He still hadn't fully recovered from the extreme frost, nor had he recovered from the exhaustion caused by using the origin energy of the netherworld. He turned around to find Dabai sprawled on the ground like a dead dog with its tongue hanging out, clearly having also been severely frozen. Dabai, are you going to be all right? Lin looked down at Dabai with a sympathetic expression. Only now do I realize that even that thick layer of fat and long white fur can't keep me out, woof. Dabai narrowed its eyes with a disconsolate expression. In this trial, the man and the dog once again suffered serious injuries. They silently began the journey of recuperation. A day later, Lin and Dabai finally recovered from their injuries. Another 2 days passed, and Lin finally recovered from the side effects of using the origin energy of the netherworld. There's not much time left. Let's begin the final trial. Lin adjusted himself to his peak condition and stood up with a glowing expression on his face. All right, let's go rescue the beautiful princess trapped in the ruins, woof. Dabai was also in high spirits. The metal gate was slowly pushed open, and a crimson passageway appeared before them. Lin stepped onto this passageway and began his final trial. Chapter 371. Lin had initially thought that the red passageway leading into the depths of the ruins was just a disgusting color scheme. But after careful observation and touch, he discovered that the red inner wall was really smeared with blood. This blood must have been smeared on for a long time. Who would have thought that the Research Institute's preservation techniques would be so good? It's still so bright red. Lin nodded in affirmation. Dabai followed behind Lin and sniffed the air with its nose as it looked ahead with a cautious expression. It could smell a very strange scent in the air. It wasn't the scent of blood, but rather, it was a scent that evoked an involuntary sense of revulsion. Soon, they arrived at an extremely spacious secret chamber. The entire secret chamber was completely empty aside from a gargantuan glass container that hovered in the center of the secret chamber. There was a red liquid within the glass container, within which was a dragon-headed monster with azure scales and a pair of red bony wings on its back. Its eyes were closed as it immersed itself in the liquid, as if it had fallen into a deep slumber. Welcome to the trial of sin. The 100-beast demon within the glass container is a failed product of the Purple Star Bloodline Research Institute. It is a fusion of the bloodline inheritances of over 100 mutant beasts and is at the pinnacle of bloodline creation. However, it also has a fatal flaw, which is that it has lost its consciousness and can only be used as a weapon of sin. Defeat and kill the 100-beast demon to pass this trial. According to past trial takers, the survival rate for this trial is 0%. If you pass this trial, you can choose any inheritance you wish. Do you want to begin the trial now? Bai Ling's voice sounded within the secret chamber. This time, she introduced the trial in great detail. Lin heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing that the trial was about combat. He had never been scared of anyone in a battle of pure combat prowess. Begin the trial. Unlin's storage ring flashed as he held his evil-slaying sword in his hand. The container was opened, and crimson blood began to flow onto the ground. The 100 Bees demon lost its support and crashed to the ground with a thump. Its eyes were still closed, as if it had yet to wake up. Unlin, Dabai, big brother, and should we wake it up first? Woof. Dabai asked. Unlin smiled coldly. Of course I should wake it up. As he spoke, the fingertips of his left hand moved with dazzling lightning, while his right hand burst forth with boundless golden light. Mountain-shaking lightning fist. In the blink of an eye, a golden lightning fist imbued with terrifying power hurtled toward the 100-beast demon on the ground. This move was incomparably powerful, but it needed to be charged up. It was the best time to use it here. Boom! The golden light was accompanied by a destructive explosion of lightning, and the energy swept through the entire secret chamber. Unlin and Dabai were also pushed back by the powerful shockwave of the explosion. The defenseless 100-beast demon would definitely be crippled even if it didn't die. Unlin had just unleashed his divine inspection technique in an attempt to assess the situation within the explosion when a black shadow abruptly broke through the energy of the explosion and pounced toward the retreating Unlin. So fast, the hair on the back of Unlin's neck stood on end. He was able to determine where the 100-beast demon was going to attack with his divine inspection technique. But the 100-beast demon was simply too fast, so fast that Unlin didn't even have time to defend himself. Wind Sword. The evil-slaying sword's speed instantly increased drastically as it tore through the air, leaving a streak of pure white light in its wake before crashing into the oncoming azure palm. Boom! The clash between the two swept up gale-force winds and caused the earth to cave in. Unlin could also sense an indescribable power that was even more powerful than his own. At this moment, he finally had a chance to see the 100-beast demon's appearance. The 100-beast demon was struck by the mountain-shaking lightning fist, but it was completely unscathed. Its purple eyes were cold and sinister, and its pair of crimson bone wings flapped like flesh and blood, striking fear into the onlookers' hearts. Lion's Roar. An eerie roar erupted from the 100-beast demon's mouth. Roar. A dark sound wave suddenly erupted from its azure palm, and the lion's roar was imbued with an extremely powerful sound wave blast toward Enlin's body, instantly sending Enlin flying. The 100-beast demon was just about to give chase after Enlin when several blue saber projections suddenly flew through the air toward it. Snake Shadow Steps. The 100-beast demon stopped its pursuit of Enlin, and its body transformed into a streak of afterimages as it instantly evaded the powerful saber projections before charging toward Dabai. Splitting Bat Palm. An azure palm enshrouded Dabai's entire body, giving Dabai a huge fright as he hurriedly retreated. However, the palm was able to twist and warp the space around it. An invisible shockwave pierced through the air and crashed directly into Dabai's body, causing it to cave in. Dabai was severely wounded, and his body crashed heavily into the metal wall. Right at this moment, heaven and earth were suddenly plunged into darkness, immediately followed by the screeching of swords. Enlin had unleashed the Shadow Tiger technique, and his evil-slaying sword fell upon the 100-beast demon's neck. The inky black sword intent even tore a massive gash into the unknown metal on the ground. His pupils shrank as he stared at the 100-beast demon's neck in shock. His heart was in turmoil. The evil-slaying sword was unable to cut even half an inch into the 100-beast demon's neck. How could this be no? Enlin focused his gaze. He could see that there was an extremely small distance between the evil-slaying sword and the 100-beast demon's scaled skin. This small distance made it feel as if his long sword had struck an indestructible metal plate. Tornado Cloud. The 100-beast demon turned to look at Enlin, and a cruel smile appeared on its face, revealing a row of sharp teeth. Boom! An azure tornado swept forth from its body, transforming into countless peerlessly sharp blades that tore through the metal ground and tore at Enlin's body. Blood splattered through the air, and Enlin spread open his wings of wind as he hurtled back in retreat. Why was the 100-beast demon completely unscathed after taking his mountain-quaking lightning fist? And why was the shadow tiger unable to even slice through the 100-beast demon's neck? All of this was because of the spatial barrier. Just like the Gundam floating in the hall outside, the 100-beast demon's body was also enshrouded in a spatial barrier, which prevented it from being harmed by anything, thereby giving it an invincible position. If Enlin wanted to harm the 100-beast demon, then he would have to break through its spatial barrier. Generally speaking, only returned to void stage mighty figures were capable of breaking through spatial barriers. How was he supposed to fight this? His enemies possessed all kinds of trump cards, and they even had a turtle shell that only a return to void stage mighty figure could shatter. They were invincible. Even if Enlin used his origin energy of the netherworld, he wouldn't be able to defeat them. The 100-beast demon charged toward Enlin again as crimson flames gathered in its palm. Enlin slashed out a black sword projection, but the 100-beast demon evaded it again with its agile movement techniques. A hint of confusion flashed through his mind. It was clearly invincible, so why was it evading his sword strike? Was this an instinctive reaction, or was it because the spatial barrier would expend energy to attack it? Bright Burr Mantra! It slammed a palm toward Enlin, and the crimson flames in its palm converged to form an extremely dazzling ball of flames before exploding like a bomb. Boom! The entire secret chamber tremored violently in that instant. Violent crimson flames engulfed and melted everything in its path, transforming the entire secret chamber into a sea of flames. Chapter 372. Within the sea of crimson flames, Enlin's clothes were torn to shreds as a blue light barrier enshrouded his body to keep the flames at bay. The southern heavenly ice silkworm holy robe activated its protective ability to keep the explosion at bay. Enlin knew that this immortal tool had a limited amount of energy and couldn't protect its owner for many times. He had to use this time to find a way out of this predicament. The cry of a falcon sounded as the 100-beast demon spread open its crimson skeletal wings and pounced toward Enlin like a falcon. Enlin turned his eyes toward the peculiar skeletal wings before unleashing his wind sword technique again. The evil-slaying sword transformed into a streak of black light as it slashed down toward the skeletal wings. Boom! He could see that his long sword was knocked aside by an invisible spatial barrier before it even came into contact with the skeletal wings. The mountain-toppling force almost tore open the web between his thumb and forefinger. No, that wasn't the 100-beast demon's weakness. Could it be that he really had to break through the spatial barrier to escape? But even the origin energy of a netherworld wouldn't be able to shatter the spatial barrier. If he recklessly used the origin energy of a netherworld now, he really wouldn't have a chance to turn the situation around once the mystic technique expired. Realm Dragon Heaven Lightning. The 100-beast demon placed its palms in front of itself at the sight of Enlin flying through the air. Black lightning continued to converge, and its power became more and more fearsome until even the space around it began to tremor. Boom! A bolt of black lightning as thick as a water bucket tore through the air toward Enlin like a true dragon. Enlin pointed a finger at the bolt of lightning. Lightning manipulation technique. In an instant, the space was silent, and the black lightning was actually frozen in the void. The 100-beast demon's violent expression faltered slightly upon seeing this. Lightning amplification technique. Crack, an invisible ripple appeared, and the black lightning became even darker, as if it were going to annihilate everything in its path. Enlin curled his finger, and the black lightning suddenly changed direction to instantly puncture the 100-beast demon's chest. Boom! The terrifying power of the black lightning engulfed and annihilated everything it came into contact with, blasting a black hole into the 100-beast demon's chest from which crimson blood splattered through the air. Roar! The 100-beast demon roared with shock and confusion. Seeing this, Enlin was shocked. He had the first way to break out of this situation. The spatial barrier couldn't isolate the 100-beast demon's power. This logic could be understood if one thought about it seriously. The 100-beast demon needed to absorb the world's origin chi and transform it within its body before releasing it. If the space barrier could even block his power, then wouldn't the energy directly explode in his body? As Lin watched the heavily injured 100-beast demon retreat, a glimmer of hope finally rose in his heart. Unfortunately, he had only managed to severely wound the 100-beast demon with the help of his lightning manipulation technique and lightning amplification technique. But how was he going to control the 100-beast demon spells? Just as he was about to be injured, several blue saber projections flew towards the 100-beast demon. The 100-beast demon had just been severely injured, so it was probably still in a daze, so it didn't try to dodge. Thus, the saber projection sliced through the air and struck the 100-beast demon's body. An explosion of energy erupted, but the saber projection was unable to break through the 100-beast demon's spatial barrier. Blood was still gushing forth from the 100-beast demon's chest, but the wounds soon began to clot up. Then, its flesh began to squirm as it began to regenerate at a speed similar to that of the blood tribe. And Lin stared at the 100-beast demon with a grave expression. Such terrifying regenerative abilities had put him in dire straits once again. The 100-beast demon also stared intently at Lin, and a hint of fear flashed through its frosty eyes as a hesitant expression appeared on its face. Crackle! An arc of lightning shot toward Lin. And Lin was also hesitant as he looked at the oncoming bolt of lightning. Should he use the lightning manipulation technique? This type of energy isn't very powerful. Is it just a test? In the blink of an eye, he chose to stand on the spot and make no attempt to resist. Arcs of lightning exploded, causing black smoke to rise from Lin's body. Even his hair had been electrocuted into curls. Trash! Did you not eat enough? Why is your lightning technique so weak? And Lin cursed with a disdainful expression. Roar! The 100-beast demon was clearly enraged, and it bared its fangs as it roared. Void Dragon Divine Lightning. The 100-beast demon unleashed another powerful lightning technique. This time, it unleashed a bolt of golden divine lightning, which was even more fearsome than the realm dragon divine lightning. And Lin was ecstatic to see the golden lightning hurtling toward him. Did this idiot think that he wouldn't be able to use the lightning manipulation technique just because it was using a different lightning technique? It looked like the 100-beast demon's loss of consciousness was one of the keys to this situation, and Lin had to make good use of this powerful bolt of lightning. Lightning manipulation technique, lightning amplification technique, and then, right before the 100-beast demon's incredulous eyes, the golden divine lightning shuddered violently before radiating a scintillating golden light. It then suddenly turned around and struck toward the 100-beast demon's head like a bolt of lightning. Boom! A massive hole was instantly blasted into the 100-beast demon's head. For most living beings, the head was the most vulnerable part. Thus, Lin aimed his lightning strike at the 100-beast demon's head, which had the highest chance of killing it. And Lin was greeted by the sight of the 100-beast demon's dazed expression. Its head was charred black, and an unknown liquid was seeping out of the hole. Most of its blood had even been instantly evaporated by the divine lightning. Is it dead? And Lin's breathing was a little heavy. A few seconds later, he heard a sound that made his entire body tremble. This was the sound of flesh squirming. A faint crimson light emanated from the 100-beast demon's scale-covered body as its head began to regenerate. And Lin's heart plummeted once again. It was still alive? What a terrifying life force. What do I do? Even though the 100-beast demon is not immune to its own attacks and is an idiot, it's still going to be extremely difficult to defeat. We can't continue like this. Use the realm-piercing nail. A voice as cold as the autumn moon sounded in Lin's mind. And Lin's body shuddered as he realized that this was the voice of his evil-slaying sword. Little Xia, will the realm-piercing nail work? Isn't it used to break spell formations? It's a lot sharper than normal weapons, and it's also more sentient, but it won't be able to break through spatial barriers. Evil-slaying sword. Shut up. If I give you a gun and you use it like a hammer, do you think it'll work? And Lin, I'll teach you the manipulation mantra. Memorize it well. The evil-slaying sword's domineering voice continued to sound in Lin's mind. Sentient through obsession, body and soul in unison, vital vibration, 9 meridians, the 100-beast demon's self-healing process was a little slow, perhaps due to the severe injury it had sustained to its head, but it was still rooted to the spot. And Lin's eyes became extremely bright as a black mist began to emanate from his body. His aura climbed steadily as a terrifying power erupted from his body. Origin energy of the netherworld. A red light flashed, and a crimson nail appeared in the air. He looked at the 100-beast demon, which was still rooted to the spot, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Now, let me show you the true power of the realm-piercing nail. Chapter 373. And Lin activated his cultivation method according to Little Xia's instructions, and an enormous amount of energy began to flow toward the realm-piercing nail. Ding! A crisp ringing erupted as the realm-piercing nail glowed with a bright red light. A peerlessly sharp light began to converge on the tip of the nail, making it appear as if it were a bloodthirsty star. Go! And Lin pointed a finger, and the realm-piercing nail instantly disappeared. In the next instant, it appeared right in front of the 100-beast demon's face and stabbed forward in a frenzy. An extremely piercing screech reverberated through the air, sweeping up gale-force winds and surging vital energy. The dot of red light was only a thin layer away from the 100-beast demon's temple, but this thin layer felt like the longest distance. Even though the realm-piercing nail was peerlessly sharp, it was still severely hampered. The space around it tremored as thin cracks began to appear. The 100-beast demon's self-healing process was nearing completion, and it slowly opened its eyes. It had decided to tear Lin apart with its own 2 hands in its most insane revenge. However, the first thing it saw was the glowing red nail before it. In that instant, it was struck by an extremely strong sense of peril. Gotcha! Something seemed to have shattered, following which a burst of excruciating pain shot through its body. Bam! The red nail transformed into a lethal thin line that punctured the 100-beast demon's head. The space around it twisted and trembled as it passed by, and it destroyed the 100-beast demon's head for a second time, inflicting a wound that was even more severe than if it had been struck by a bolt of golden lightning. The 100-beast demon didn't even have 3 seconds to recover its consciousness before it was severely wounded again and fell unconscious. The realm-piercing nail flew through the air at Lin's behest before flying toward the 100-beast demon's heart. Following a sharp screeching sound, a bloody mist erupted, and a massive hole appeared in the 100-beast demon's heart. Lin knew that this was not the time to stop. Instead, it was the perfect time to beat the 100-beast demon while it was down. The realm-piercing nail transformed into a series of dazzling crimson lines that relentlessly destroyed the 100-beast demon's body, not even sparing its wings. Bam, bam, bam. One crimson flower after another blossomed at a faster and faster rate. And Lin could sense that the 100-beast demon's spatial barrier was getting weaker and weaker, and the realm-breaking nail was taking less and less time to pierce through space. Before long, the 100-beast demon was riddled with holes. However, he still didn't stop because there was still no sound from the secret room informing him of the end of the trial. Finally, at a certain moment, he could no longer sense the spatial layer. Goodbye, Lin yelled as his vision darkened. He half knelt on the ground and withdrew his origin energy of the netherworld. Leave it to me, Wolf. Dabai roared and pounced toward the 100-beast demon, pouncing on its body, which had already been riddled with holes by the realm-piercing nail. In that instant, the chaos origin sky shattering claw drew lines of blue web-like trajectories, instantly tearing the broken body into thousands of pieces. Not only that, but Dabai also unleashed a flame spell technique to slowly burn the shredded body into a charred black. In the end, he didn't forget to flip the shredded body over to the other side before continuing to burn it. Congratulations, you have successfully passed the trial of evil. The rewards will now be distributed. Bai Ling's voice suddenly sounded. Immediately afterward, Dabai and Enlin were struck by a rush of dizziness before arriving in a pure white space. There was a black ball hovering at the center of the space. Looking at this familiar space, Enlin plopped down onto the ground. The last string of tension in his heart finally loosened, and he panted heavily as he laughed. Ha! I've finally passed this D*Ned trial. It's so exciting. I will never forget this brave adventure into the ruins. Woof! Dabai was also lying on the ground with excitement on his face. Hee, I'll never forget the sight of you slicing and frying the 100-beast demon like it was roasted meat. Bai Ling made her way over to Dabai with a hint of a smile on her face. Dabai's body trembled at the sight of Bai Ling, and he didn't dare to say anything. Bai Ling, it's time for you to fulfill your promise. A smug smile appeared on Enlin's face. A warm smile appeared on Bai Ling's face as she made her way over to Enlin. What's the hurry? We haven't even done the foreplay yet, and you're already getting to the main point? Enlin was completely unmoved by her seductive words. He looked at her with a calm expression. What foreplay? Can you cut to the chase and get straight to the point? Bai Ling heaved a forlorn sigh. It's not that I don't want to get straight to the point. It's just that you're a little strange. You'll steal my information, and you'll steal my other inheritances as well. Wouldn't that be a huge loss for me? All right, what do you think we should do now? Enlin thought back to when it almost cracked the black ball and received half of the inheritance's information in one go, and he nodded in agreement. Light converged on Bai Ling's palm, and she unleashed a restriction on Enlin's bloodline and cultivation method inheritance. Only then did she point her finger toward Enlin's forehead with a sense of relief. Boom! Countless pieces of information flowed into Enlin's body before being deeply imprinted into his mind. Enlin's eyes lit up, but Bai Ling's beautiful features paled slightly as cold sweat began to appear on her forehead. Bai Ling discovered that her information was no longer under her control. Instead, it flowed toward Enlin's body of its own accord. This was a very familiar scene to her. However, Bai Ling didn't choose to forcibly cut off the information this time. Instead, she did her best to suppress the power of the information transmission in case the black ball couldn't handle it. Everything else was just going to take its course. The inheritance concluded. Enlin didn't say anything, as if he was digesting this massive amount of information. After a while, he turned to Bai Ling with a peculiar expression. So, you're a purple star cultivator who has transformed into a different life form. Bai Ling knew that this was part of the information Enlin had received, and she nodded to confirm her identity. Enlin's brows furrowed. What happened to the purple star civilization? I can't tell you. I'll die if I do. Bai Ling's eyelashes trembled as an expression of undisguised grief appeared on her face. I'm going to bestow upon you the spatial condensation inheritance, the mechanical engineering inheritance, and the shadow demon inheritance. These three inheritances are all top-notch inheritances from the Research Institute. You've passed those trials, so this is what you deserve. Bai Ling didn't dwell on this topic as she pointed toward Enlin. Maida Bai and Xiao Hong fought alongside me, so they should also receive inheritances. Enlin asked. Bai Ling smiled. Don't worry. They'll also receive inheritances, and they'll definitely be the most suitable for them. Thus, Enlin received 3 more inheritances. The usefulness of these 3 inheritances greatly broadened his horizons, and his entire body was filled with excitement. The spatial condensation inheritance involved the use of the laws of ice. The shadow demon inheritance involved the use of spatial perception, and it could even be used in conjunction with the shadow tiger from his 6 strikes of the war god. As for the mechanical engineering inheritance, he could try giving his Gundams some engine oil from now on. He shook Xiao Hong awake, and she received the Fate inheritance from Bai Ling. Bai Ling said that this inheritance would be more effective when consumed together with photosynthesis and Xiao Hong's Golden Crow inheritance. Dabai received the dog food inheritance. That's right, it really was an inheritance on how to make dog food. After receiving the inheritance, Dabai was completely dumbstruck. Enlin, who knew the truth, was even more furious than Dabai. At this moment, the system suddenly let out a ding-dong sound. Chapter 374. The system, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly flashed again. And Lin opened the system in his mind to find that the Special Missions tab was flashing. Special Mission detected that host has completely absorbed all of the information from the 88th Purple Star Research Institute. Now assigning Special Mission. Persuade the mainframe of the Research Institute, by Ling, to leave the White Cloud Lake and return to the continent. Mission success. Receive 1 special spell technique lottery ticket. Mission failure. Impotence for 3 years. Mission time limit. 6 hours. Note: this mission cannot be rejected. And Lin's lips twitched as he looked down at his crotch with a gloomy expression. Impotence for 3 years? That didn't seem like a big deal. What did he need this metal rod for? He had already wasted 20 years, so he might as well waste another 3 years, right? With that in mind, he felt a lot more at ease, and Lin blinked in confusion. There seemed to be something wrong with this train of thought. Holy F***CK. This was a matter of pride as a man. A real man was someone who could be flexible and flexible. If he couldn't even do that, then what kind of man would he be? With that in mind, Lin instantly felt like the punishment for this mission was extremely heinous. He definitely couldn't fail this mission. You've all received the inheritance, right? Hurry up and go, I need to rest. Bai Ling massaged her brows in exhaustion before issuing an eviction order. Wait, what's with my dog food inheritance? Is it discriminating against dogs? Woof. Dabai protested with an expression of grief and indignation. You'll know how delicious dog food is when you actually make it. Bai Ling looked at Dabai and was not enraged by Dabai's accusation. Instead, a warm smile appeared on her face. Wait, and Lin also extended a hand and yelled, Big Sister Bai, I think we can talk. He was completely exhausted and could only lie on Dabai's back in a feeble manner. Even so, there was a scorching light in his eyes as he looked at Bai Ling. Bai Ling faltered slightly upon seeing Lin's expression before a smile appeared on her face. Mr. Lin, is there anything else we need to talk about? All of the information regarding the Purple Star is in your mind, so I can't reveal anything else to you. It's not that kind of thing. I just want to talk to you about life and talk about ideals, and Lin said with a fawning expression. Bai Ling, Dabai turned to look at Lin with an expression that said, I've misjudged you. Hurry up and say what you have to say. Also, I don't like relationships between older women and younger men, Bai Ling said in a cold voice. And Lin's heart sank. Love between an older woman and a younger man? Just where did this woman's imagination go? I just wanted to have a casual chat, and she thought that I was interested in her? Besides, Lin wasn't interested in a relationship between an older sister and a younger brother with an age difference of more than 10,000 years. Ahem. I just wanted to say that since I've already inherited all of the Purple Star's information, there's no need for you to stay here forever, right? And Lin asked in a probing manner. Information isn't everything. There's also bloodlines, cultivation methods, knowledge, and other inheritances. Bai Ling squinted her eyes and bent down to place her beautiful face right in front of Lin's. You want me to leave this place? And Lin looked at Bai Ling's face, which was right in front of his eyes. Her smooth skin appeared as if it were made of white porcelain under the illumination of the white light. That's right. I want you to leave this place. And Lin had no intention of hiding this from her. This world is so big. Don't you want to explore it? Oh, I've already explored this world 10,000 years ago, so I'm not interested now. Bai Ling's breath smelled like orchids. At such a close distance, her eyelashes fluttered and her eyes shimmered, making Lin feel very embarrassed. But this world has already changed a lot. It's becoming more and more beautiful and vibrant. There are many extraordinary and talented figures, many unique snacks, and many beautiful songs. And Lin continued to offer words of persuasion. But even after tens of thousands of years, there's one place that hasn't changed at all. Bai Ling's eyes dimmed. Not only was she not encouraged by Lin's words, but she seemed even more disinterested. And Lin immediately knew that Bai Ling was recalling her hometown. The Purple Star civilization was different from the Kingdom of the Nine States. To put it more accurately, The people of the Purple Star Civilization and the people of the Kingdom of the Nine States belonged to two different races. Bai Ling was a member of the Purple Star tribe. Her entire tribe had been wiped out, and she had lived alone for over 10,000 years. What kind of faith did she rely on to survive in this research lab for such a long time? What was she trying to achieve by persevering here? Big Sister Bai, what are your dreams? Or do you have a goal? And Lin felt like if he knew what Bai Ling lived for, he would definitely be able to convince her to leave this place, to spread the light of the Purple Star Civilization across this continent. Bai Ling paused momentarily before continuing, and to remind them not to forget about the Purple Star. Then did you know that there's a Purple Star state in the Kingdom of the Nine States that has changed drastically after receiving the inheritance of your civilization? And Lin asked in a slow voice. A hint of light finally flashed through Bai Ling's eyes upon hearing this. The Purple Star state? I heard about it from a certain trial taker in the past. What has it become now? I'm not telling you. If you want to know, you'll have to go and see for yourself. And Lin replied with a serious expression. Bai Ling, Golden Crow, Mirror Fusion, Dark God, Spatial Congealing, Shadow Demon, Fate Machine, Mechanical Engineering, Divine Food, Demonic Myriad. These are the 10 inheritances of the Research Institute, right? And Lin digested the information in his mind before continuing. Who would have thought that my beast pet team and I would take up 8 of them? The other 2 have already been taken by other trial takers a long time ago. In that case, the main inheritance and the main information have all been passed down, and the restriction placed on you by the Research Institute has most likely been completely lifted. As for the other ordinary inheritances, you can test the trial takers along the way. There's no need for you to stay here forever. It'll definitely be a lot more efficient if you take the initiative. At least you'll be able to enjoy the scenery along the way. That's definitely better than staying in this lifeless place, right? The information in my mind also mentioned that this research institute is a moving fortress. I don't know the specifics, but that means that you can move the research institute wherever you want, and you won't have to worry about finding a trial venue. And Lin patiently explained, as Bai Ling listened with a smile. I feel like you're more concerned about whether or not I'm going to explore the continent. Why are you so concerned about me? Bai Ling suddenly asked. That's because we're friends. And Lin replied with a straight face. Friends. A smile appeared on Bai Ling's face, and she was like a flawless white lotus that had blossomed soundlessly. She thought to herself for a moment before finally nodding. You're actually quite right. I also want to visit the Purple Star State. You guys can leave first so I can think about it. Don't. Traveling is only fun when you say you want to. And Lin spoke in a panicked voice. What a joke. The mission time limit was 6 hours. If Bai Ling thought about it, and Lin would have to be impotent for 3 years. You want to leave just like that? Bai Ling's heart stirred. That's right, I want to leave just like that. And Lin held on to Bai Ling's soft and delicate hand and nodded firmly. Bai felt like he had accepted the inheritance of dog food for nothing. He was clearly already stuffed to death from eating dog food. So what was the point of accepting the inheritance? And Lin's words about rescuing the imprisoned princess made Bai extremely excited for a very long time. Now, Bai finally understood that Big Brother and wasn't lying to him. However, the princess was Bai Ling. And Lin didn't think that his attempt to trick Bai into coming with him would come true. Chapter 375. At the summit of the Cloud Mountain, Lin Junjun had drawn an extremely lifelike evil dragon onto her canvas. The evil dragon lay in the middle of the mountain range, and beneath its sinister black claws was a man with a bloody nose and a swollen face. The woman smiled sweetly. She held a paintbrush in her hand and painted the scene of the man being beaten until he cried. She was very happy, as if she was doing something very interesting. Who told you to bully me? Do you know the consequences now? Lin Junjun glared at the man in the painting with a vicious expression. Soon, she recalled what had happened in the Purple Star ruins. He's been in there for over 7 days already, and he still hasn't come out. How could he be in there for so long? Could it be that he's met with some misfortune? The woman thought with concern. After a while, she harumphed with disdain. It's better if he dies in there. Otherwise, he'll keep coming back to piss me off. White Cloud Lake. Jiang Amlin was lying on the grass, looking up at the white clouds in the blue sky. And Lin has been in there for 7 days, which has broken the record for the longest time spent in the ruins. Of course, those trial takers who haven't returned yet don't count. I wonder how much information Lin will bring out this time. Will Master Tianyu still dare to accept the information he brings back? Jiang Amlin couldn't help but gloat at the thought of Master Tianyu's tearful expression. He was also looking forward to what was going to happen next. Huge waves began to appear on the vast white cloud lake. A series of bubbles began to rise from the bottom of the lake, and the ground began to tremor. What's going on? Jiang Amlin stood up with furrowed brows as he looked at the surging surface of the lake. Immediately afterward, a huge splash erupted from the surface of the lake as 2 figures leaped out of the lake. Huge waves surged and the earth quaked. A white liquid began to converge from the bottom of the lake toward a certain white figure in the sky. Then it began to shrink as if it were a mustard seed. Boom! It was as if something was about to collapse, or as if something had been hollowed out. The earth began to cave in, and the vast white cloud lake also began to cave in. Heaven and earth instantly began to rumble and roar. Jiang Amlin's mouth gaped open as he stared at the scenes unfolding before his eyes with incredulity. He raised his head and saw a familiar figure riding a dog, as well as an unfamiliar figure. It was a very beautiful woman in a white dress, holding a black bead in her hand. The liquid-like objects from before had entered the peculiar black bead. The 88th Purple Star Research Institute has been successfully absorbed into the main core. Bai Ling held the black bead in her hand with a disconsolate expression on her face. And Lin also had a smile on his face as he congratulated her from the bottom of his heart. Congratulations, big sister Bai. With this, you'll be able to have more freedom when it comes to choosing a successor. A faint smile appeared on Bai Ling's face. Right at this moment, a middle-aged man with dragon horns on his head flew over in a panic. The clown turned back into the little monkey and sat on Enlin's shoulder. Enlin, my little friend, what's going on? Jiang Amlin didn't even know where to start. He stared at the 2 people in front of him in amazement. Brother Jiang, don't make a fuss. Enlin chuckled at the sight of them and continued. Come, let me introduce you to each other. This is the mastermind of the 88th Purple Star Research Institute, Bai Ling. This is the guardian of the White Cloud Lake, Jiang Amlin. A warm smile appeared on Bai Ling's face as she nodded. Hello. Jiang Amlin's eyes almost popped out of his head upon hearing Lin's introduction. You're the mastermind of the Purple Star Research Institute. That's right. Bai Ling was like a gentle older sister as she replied with sincerity. Jiang Amlin clasped a hand over his chest and didn't know what kind of expression to put on his face. My God, this world was simply too crazy. Jiang Amlin had initially thought that it would already be very impressive if Lin could bring back some information from the Purple Star Research Institute. But now, he even brought the Mother * King mastermind of the Purple Star Research Institute with him. Then, Mr. Lin, Jiang Amlin pointed at the sunken white cloud lake and the cracked ground around it with an uncertain expression. Is this also because of the Purple Star Research Institute? That's right. Bai Ling has already stored the Purple Star Research Institute into her bead. She's going to leave this place soon. And Lin nodded. In other words, you can also retire now, Brother Jiang. From now on, you'll be free to go wherever you want. Jiang Amlin blinked his bright eyes as Lin's words rang in his ears. The Purple Star Research Institute was gone. He could retire now? My God, am I still living in a dream? Jiang Amlin let out a strange cry as he bit down viciously on his finger. Splurt! Blood splattered all over his face. He chuckled like an idiot as he felt the genuine pain. And Lin noticed the astonishment on Bai Ling's face and explained with a resigned expression. My friend might have been a little traumatized. Please don't take it to heart. He's the person sent by the Celestial Court to guard the Research Institute, right? Something like this must have changed his life a lot, so I can understand if he's a little traumatized. Bai Ling nodded. She knew that the Celestial Court would definitely be very interested in the results of the Purple Star Research Institute and would collect all kinds of information related to the Purple Star Research Institute. This was a way for her to accept the Purple Star inheritance. So, she wouldn't mind as long as she didn't interfere with the trial takers who obtained the Purple Star inheritance. Jiang Anlin's emotions gradually calmed down as he looked at Bai Ling with a scorching light in his eyes. Fairy Bai Ling, would you be willing to come to the summit of the Cloud Mountain and have a chat with Master Canyu? If you choose to cooperate with the Celestial Court, you'll definitely be able to obtain benefits that will satisfy you. Bai Ling shook her head. No need, I know what the Celestial Court needs. All the information regarding the 88th Purple Star Research Institute is with Lin. You can just exchange it with him. Jiang Anlin drew a sharp intake of breath as he stared at Lin with shock etched on his face. His heart was in turmoil. Lin had all of the information regarding the 88th Purple Star Research Institute. Did he F*King take Bai Ling as his Dao partner? What the F*CK? Bad SS. Bad SS. Jiang Anlin's dragon horns trembled with excitement as he stared at Lin with reverence on his face. Lin was oblivious to Jiang Anlin's thoughts as he joined his fists in salute. Ms. Bai Ling is going on a journey, so I'll send her off and contact you after a while. Sure, have fun, Jiang Anlin replied in a stammering voice. Who wants you to send her off? Bai Ling pursed her lips with a nonchalant expression as she transformed into a streak of white light and flew away. Big Sister Bai, let me express my gratitude. Wait for me. Lin was very enthusiastic and didn't seem dejected by Bai Ling's words. He leaped onto Bai's back and chased after the streak of white light. At the summit of the Cloud Mountain, Lin Junjun had finally completed her work of torturing a scumbag. Not long after that, she felt the spiritual energy of heaven and earth fluctuating, and even the mountain itself was trembling slightly. Did something happen? She recalled that a certain person was still at the Purple Star Research Institute and couldn't help but become a little concerned. So be it, I'll use the voice transmission talisman to ask Jiang Anlin about the situation. She dialed the voice transmission talisman and asked, Jiang Anlin, is there any movement from the White Cloud Lake? There's been a lot of movement, Jiang Anlin's stammering voice sounded. What movement? Lin Junjun's heart jolted, and Lin came out from the ruins and emptied out all of the information within the Research Institute before escaping with the mastermind, Bai Ling. Lin Junjun Kacha, the delicate brush was once again broken into two pieces. Chapter 376. The sun shone down upon the lush forest, creating a mottled halo of light. A light breeze blew past, and the trees rustled as birds chirped joyfully. A white figure trod over the soft soil, humming an ancient folk song as she strolled through the tranquil mountains. Big Sister Bai, we're going in the wrong direction. We're going to the Buddhist kingdom, not the kingdom of the 9 states. Lin couldn't help but say as he rode onto Bai's back. The woman turned to look at Lin with a hint of a smile in her eyes. I go wherever I want to go. Why do you insist on following me? Her voice was as gentle as cotton wool. I'm just worried that you might encounter some danger or become acclimatized to the environment after staying at home for too long. Lin patted Bai's backside and sped up to walk alongside Bai Ling. Bai Ling raised her chin slightly and took a deep breath of fresh air. As she basked in the warm sunlight shining down from between the trees, a vibrant smile gradually appeared on her face. It was as if all the snow and ice had melted and a spring breeze had descended upon them. Bai couldn't help but transmit his voice. Big brother, and I'm starting to believe that Bai Ling is a beautiful princess now. Lin transmitted his voice in reply. When have I ever lied to you? It's been a long time, but this world is still so beautiful. I like it. Bai Ling looked at the plants, smelled the fragrance of the soil, listened to the chirping of the birds, and basked in the warmth of the sun. All of this intoxicated her, and she couldn't help but praise it. Lin could tell that Bai Ling wasn't acclimatized to the environment. Roar! A mutant beast with the head of a tiger and the tail of a snake suddenly leaped out from the forest and pounced toward Bai Ling like lightning. Lightning was already flashing on Lin's fingertips upon seeing this. Following a loud noise, the exotic beast with a strong head and a weak tail crashed into an invisible barrier. And Lin stared at Bai Ling with shock on his face. He had only detected an extremely faint vital energy fluctuation before this invisible barrier appeared. He knew that this barrier wasn't some low-level spell technique like a wall of air. Instead, it was an extremely advanced spatial technique. From this alone, Lin knew that as long as Bai Ling didn't court death, no one on this continent could bully her. As long as she wasn't acclimatized, he wouldn't be the one to protect her if she encountered any danger, so he could leave her to her own devices. I don't have the habit of killing small animals. Hurry up and scram. Bai Ling glanced at the tiger head snake-tail beast, which had crashed into the spatial barrier too quickly and was already dizzy. The tiger-headed, snake-tailed beast felt relieved and hurriedly ran away. I heard that the meat from the tiger head snake-tail beast's waist is especially delicious. And Lin suddenly said. The space began to distort silently. The tiger-headed snake-tailed beast was dead. The flames began to rise. The barbecue rack was 1 meter wide, and the white and tender meat was skewered on steel wires. And Lin continued to sprinkle ingredients on the meat. The flames crackled, and the sparkling meat slowly warmed up. A rich fragrance began to waft in the air. Bai Ling sat on the little stool that Lin had pulled out from his storage ring. She rested her chin on her hand as she gazed at the delicious and alluring roast meat with a dazed look in her eyes. I've seen this dish in a restaurant in the Stone Dragon State. It's called Salt and Pepper God's Waist, and it's made from the waist of a tiger head snake-tail beast. Hence, when I saw this tiger head snake-tail beast, I knew that I couldn't miss it. And Lin couldn't help but smack his lips as he gazed at the roast meat. He couldn't help but chuckle at the sight of Bai Ling's entranced expression. How long has it been since you last ate? I haven't eaten for 10,726 years, Bai Ling replied honestly. And Lin, aren't you hungry after not eating for so long? And Lin asked after a moment of thought. After reaching the return to void stage, everything in this world can be used as energy, so why would I be hungry? Bai Ling replied with a smile. And Lin also smiled. But eating is the most joyful thing in life. It would be a shame not to eat for 10,000 years. He used his energy sword to slice the fragrant roast meat into a mesh before sprinkling some spirit ingredients onto it before handing it to the woman beside him. Have a taste. Bai Ling accepted the roast meat from Lin, and a dazed expression flashed through her eyes as she inhaled the fragrant aroma wafting through the air. She brought the meat to her mouth and bit off a small piece of hot and fragrant meat before slowly chewing on it. The flavor of the roast meat was superb, and it instantly flowed through her taste buds. Her eyes narrowed slightly as a slight smile appeared on her face. Looks like my roast meat is pretty good. And Lin smiled as he handed the second portion of roast meat to the drooling Bai. Bai Ling looked at Lin and nodded. This is the best roast meat I've eaten in 10,726 years. And Lin's lips twitched. Can't you be more sincere with your praise? Bai Ling's brows perked up slightly. I haven't eaten meat in 10,726 years, but I'm making an exception for your roast meat. Isn't that enough to make you happy? And Lin pondered this for a moment. From a different perspective, this really did seem to give him a sense of accomplishment. Bai Ling bit off another piece of roast meat and nodded. You're right. Eating is the most joyful thing in life. A smile appeared on her face as she spoke. Her eyes were clear, and a few strands of hair brushed against her rosy cheeks. She didn't even bother to lift them up as she continued to nibble on the roast meat. And Lin couldn't help but sigh with emotion at the sight of the eccentric Bai Ling smiling like a pure little girl. As expected, one should go out more often after staying in the house for too long. Where are you going next? I'm preparing to return to the celestial court, and Lin suddenly said. I'm not telling you, Bai Ling replied. And Lin, then leave me a voice transmission talisman. You can come find me if you need anything, and Lin continued. I won't. We'll meet again if we're fated to, Bai Ling replied calmly. And Lin, she was so gentle and adorable just a few minutes ago. Why was she suddenly so cold and aloof now? Or could it be that she's doing something that I can't interfere with? Is that why she's keeping her mouth shut? And Lin couldn't figure this out, so he didn't think too much about it. After a while, two people and a dog finally finished eating the waste of the tiger-head snake-tail beast. There's no need to send me off now. Let's part ways here. Bai Ling glanced at Lin with an expressionless face, as if she had repressed all of her emotions. And Lin thought about it for a moment. There probably wasn't enough time to get back to the Celestial Court, so it was indeed time to part ways. Take care, Ms. Bai Ling. If you need anything in the future, you can come find me at the Celestial Court. He waved a hand. Bai Ling nodded before transforming into a streak of white light and disappearing into the clouds in the blink of an eye. The two of them fell silent as they looked at Bai Ling's departing figure. Big Brotherin, your princess ran away. Woof! Dabai suddenly exclaimed, and Lin couldn't be bothered to waste his breath on Dabai. Instead, he turned to look at his system. The special mission tab had already indicated that he had completed the mission and could now receive his reward. This was a lucky draw, and it was a special spell technique lucky draw at that. Thinking back, the last lucky draw was a magic treasure lucky draw, and this time, he finally had a spell technique lucky draw. And Lin first used the water condensation technique to wash his hands. Then, he prayed to Senior White for his blessings in his heart before getting down to business. He looked at the system's lucky draw wheel. There were over 100 spell techniques on it, all of which were densely distributed within the grids of the wheel. All of them were enshrouded by a thin layer of mist, making it impossible to see what kind of spell techniques they were. So be it. It was already good enough that he had obtained a special spell technique. He didn't really mind. Let the lucky draw begin. And Lin yelled in his mind. Immediately afterward, the big lucky draw wheel in his mind began to spin at high speed. Stop! The speed of the lucky draw wheel became slower and slower. In the end, it stopped at a certain grid, upon which a brilliant light erupted. Chapter 377. And Lin looked at the screen that the pointer was pointing at, and the mist slowly dissipated to reveal the name of the cultivation method. And Lin's mouth gaped open in disbelief as he looked at the cultivation method. Whoosh! The system's spell technique transformed into a streak of light and merged into Lin's body. Make you cry spell technique. One-directional emotional attack spell technique. The target will fall into a state of inextricable grief. The target will be able to resist to a certain extent if their cultivation base is too high. Note, this spell technique can only be used once per day and is ineffective against targets of the Dao integration stage. And Lin stood rooted to the spot and didn't know what to say. How could there be a spell technique with such a strange name in this world? Wasn't it easy to make someone cry? All he had to do was beat the crap out of him. Big brother, and what's wrong, Wolf? Dabai asked upon seeing the peculiar expression on Lin's face. And Lin looked at the huge white dog beside him, and a peculiar smile appeared on his face. Dabai shuddered and stumbled back a couple of steps. Big brother, and what are you looking at? Dabai, how long has it been since the last time you cried? And Lin asked curiously. I'm a mighty divine dog, so of course I won't cry easily. I've never cried, even once since I was born in my mother's womb. Dabai raised his head, and a proud smile appeared on his face, creating a majestic sight to behold. Immediately afterward, for some reason, he suddenly recalled the scene where he and his father went to a brothel and were brutally beaten by his mother. He recalled Qing Hua's parting words. He recalled the despair he felt when he received the inheritance of dog food. He recalled the sorrow of the autumn leaves falling from the tree and burying themselves into the earth. All of his emotions erupted forth like a torrential flood. Dabai let loose a woof before howling in tears. And Lin's eyes lit up. He felt as if he had discovered a new continent. The Make You Cry spell technique was activated in an extremely secretive manner. There weren't even any vital energy fluctuations, and it was directly applied to Dabai's emotions. Furthermore, there was a very short interval between the spell technique's activation and its effects. It was almost instantaneous. This was a godly technique. Big brother, and what did you do to me, Wa? Dabai wiped his tears and looked at Lin with his big woof-woof eyes. He didn't look dignified at all. Well, it's just your first time. Is there need to cry like this? And Lin gently stroked Dabai's head. Big brother, and you've gone too far. What did I do wrong? Sob, 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 big baddie. Woof. Dabai felt so sad and wanted to cry. After hearing Lin's words, it recalled how Lin had treated it in the past. It couldn't help but feel sad and cried harder and harder, and Lin's pocket quivered slightly, and then there was no more movement. Xiao Hong, who had just woken up, heard the unsightly conversation between a human and a dog. She was so scared that she quickly closed her eyes. She even forgot her fixed habit of singing loudly every time she woke up, afraid that she would offend her master. And Lin had taken Dabai's first time? This was way too terrifying. Even dogs weren't spared. Wasn't Lin finally going to lay his hands on his beast pet? From a human to an animal, then from an animal to a plant? The more she thought about it, the more terrified Xiao Hong became. She trembled uncontrollably in Lin's pocket, and she couldn't help but develop a deep concern for her future. Bai cried for a dozen or so minutes before he finally stopped himself from crying. And Lin was also feeling a little guilty about taking Dabai's first time away. He didn't think that the make-you-cry spell technique would be so powerful. Dabai was clearly of the same cultivation base as him, but he had been forced to cry for over 10 minutes by Lin's spell technique. I'm sorry, Dabai. You've been crying for over 10 minutes now. I'll make you smile 10 times more in the future. I'll make you happy. And Lin apologized. Xiao Hong heaved a sigh of relief in Lin's pocket. It looked like her master wasn't the kind of scumbag who wouldn't take responsibility for what he had done. However, Dabai clapped its paws in protest. No, you took my first time, so you have to compensate me with an immortal pill. Woof. Xiao Hong's expression was one of shock upon hearing this. It thought to itself, Dabai's first time is only worth one immortal pill? If I want at least 3. Tui, tui, tui. Wrong. If Master were to do such a beastly thing, I'll definitely burn him to death. I'll let the light of the sun purify Master's evil. And Lin's lips twitched upon hearing Dabai's insatiable words. He raised his fist and was about to teach Dabai another lesson. At this moment, he suddenly felt a burst of heat in his pocket, and he couldn't help but stop his outburst. Xiao Hong, what's wrong? He pulled out Xiao Hong and asked with a concerned expression. However, the little red flower didn't react in the slightest and remained motionless. And Lin blinked and poked at the soft red flower petals. After discovering that there was no reaction, he put it back into his pocket. Was he still asleep? Was the heat in his pocket just a hallucination? Xiao Hong heaved a sigh of relief in his pocket, rejoicing that he had just escaped a calamity. In the end, Lin still succumbed to Dabai's tyranny and agreed to give Dabai an 8th grade immortal pill after returning to the Celestial Court as compensation for causing Dabai to shed precious tears. Initially, Lin had planned to beat up Dabai and use violence to solve this problem. However, he soon discovered to his dismay that the after effects of using the origin energy of another world were still present. In his exhausted state, he couldn't even withstand a single slap from Dabai. Seeing as he still had to ride Dabai in the future, he could only reluctantly agree to Dabai's request. Due to the fact that time was of the essence, Lin also pushed back his meeting with Lin Junjun. Thus, Dabai flew all the way back to the Celestial Court with Lin on his back. After returning to Xioshin United University, many of his friends came to him to ask him about his experiences in the past 10 days. Lin briefly explained to them what had happened in the ruins, but he didn't go into detail about the fact that the Purple Star Research Institute had already moved. After all, he had a feeling that the fewer people who knew about this, the better. After that, it was time for him to rest and recuperate as well as try to master the inheritances he had just obtained. The Mist Immortal Technique, the Shou Yang True Dragon Mantra, the Spatial Congealment Inheritance, the Mechanical Engineering Inheritance, the Shadow Demon Inheritance, the Make You Cry Technique. No one would believe him if he told them that he had so many cultivation techniques to try out. Early in the morning, Lin transformed into a white cloud and mist and floated to the full moon mountain, where he meditated under the morning light. At noon, and Lin activated the Shou Yang True Dragon mantra and struck the tall mountain face with his fists, creating a series of resounding booms that shook the entire mountain range. In the evening, Lin used the spatial congealment technique to solidify a large expanse of golden clouds around the university's perimeter into a soft, cottony substance. After that, he and Su Xiaolan would leisurely lie down on the clouds and chat about the interesting things that happened at the university or the problems that they faced in their cultivation. At night, Lin would immerse himself in the darkness before slowly leaping out from another space like a ghost. When he had nothing to do, he would also apply engine oil to the Gundams to ensure that he didn't slack off in his professional knowledge. He was also working hard to improve his proficiency in the Make You Cry technique. He made bugs cry, he made little foxes cry, he made little birds cry, and even Xiao Hong was killed by this technique. That day, Xiao Hong, who was in her little red flower form, cried so much that her entire windowsill was soaked. However, the next morning, Lin discovered that his hair had been burnt to a crisp. In the end, he could only go to Do Shui Palace and beg Yi Shi to refine a hair growth pill for him. Time flew by, and after half a month, Lin had already mastered all of his newly obtained techniques. Lin woke up early in the morning with a bright light in his eyes. He sensed that his body was brimming with energy, and he was both excited and nervous. Dabai, Xiao Hong, and Xiao Chou also stood quietly in their rooms, waiting for Lin. Su Xiaolan, Xianyuan Cheng, Su Qianyun, and the others all climbed up the full moon mountain with anticipation in their eyes. Lin opened the door to his room with a smile. Let's go. Today is the day I reach soul formation stage. Chapter 378. Over a dozen students had already arrived at the summit of the full moon mountain. Su Xiaolan, Xianyuan Cheng, Su Qianyun, Lu Qianhuan, Luo Zipping, Miao Tan, Zhong Yongyan, Sun Xinglian, Yao Mingxi, Yao Xiao, Hu Guan, Tang Shiman, Lu Debao, Zhao Heng. And Lin's friends immediately gathered at the summit of the full moon mountain after receiving the news. There was also an extraordinarily handsome man in a white robe, standing proudly at the summit with a sword hanging from his waist. He was Lin's homeroom teacher, the flying sword god. Lin could only rely on his own strength to transcend his tribulation. No one could help him. His friends and teacher were only here to prevent any unforeseen circumstances other than his tribulation transcendence, as well as to give Lin some moral encouragement. The fact that Lin had reached the soul formation stage was still a secret. If news of this were spread, it would probably cause an uproar in the entire school. At that time, the full moon mountain would probably be filled with tens of thousands of students. Thus, he could only choose to keep a low profile and only let the dozen or so people he was close to know about this. Back then, Lin and I were still evenly matched. Who would have thought that he would reach the soul formation stage today? There was a melancholic expression on Lu Debao's pitch-black face. People change. Even dogs change. Zhao Huayin looked up at the sky and sighed. Lu Qianhuan giggled. Who would have thought that the first person to reach soul formation stage in our school would be Lin? I'm so ashamed. Tang Shiman rolled his eyes. Why don't I see any shame in your expression? But as a senior, I'm really ashamed. Back then, he was only at the Zeroth stage Dao body when he entered the school. I even advised him to work hard. Who would have thought that he would become the first student to reach the soul formation stage 3 years later? There was a nostalgic expression on Xianyuan Cheng's face. But isn't Lin not a half-step soul formation stage cultivator yet? How is he going to progress to the soul formation stage now? Su Qianyun's face was filled with confusion. Zhong Yongyan waved his fan as if he had seen through everything. Who is Big Brother in? How can he be judged by common sense? You're only at the 10th stage Dao body, yet you're able to pummel cultivators at the return to void pinnacle stage. I wouldn't be surprised even if you directly transcend your tribulation and advance to the return to void stage. That's right. That's great God and we're talking about. Miao Tian's face was filled with admiration. Big Brother and his #1 in the world. Yao Mingxi, Hu Guan, and all the other die-hard fans yelled in unison. Su Xiaolan's beautiful eyes looked at the winding bluestone path and saw a figure in a red robe. A beautiful smile blossomed on her face. And Lin is here. Everyone turned to look at the path upon hearing this. Sure enough, they saw Lin in a red robe with a monkey, a dog, and an extremely beautiful young woman behind him. And Lin walked to the top of the mountain and was a little dazed at the sight of everyone gathered together. Then, he bowed with an apologetic expression. I'm sorry to have kept you guys waiting. We all came early. Classmate and Lin, you're treating us like outsiders. Flying Sword God looked at Lin with an expression of gratification and anticipation. Say, classmate and Lin, why are you wearing a red robe? I've never seen you wear it before. Su Qinyan blinked her bright blue eyes curiously. This isn't a wedding. Why are you wearing this? Do you want me to hang a red embroidered ball on your chest? Su Xiaolan rolled her eyes with disdain, and Lin puffed out his chest with a smug smile. What do you know? Transcending the tribulation to the soul formation stage is a major event. So, of course, I have to wear something festive. Oh. A brilliant light flashed through Su Qinyan's eyes as an expression of, I've learned something, appeared on her face. Big Brother is so wise. Miao Tian and the others yelled with excitement. Xiao Hong. And Lin called out to the young woman behind him. The young woman nodded and transformed into a streak of red light that shot toward Lin's head. Finally, she transformed into a little red flower that swayed in the wind above his head. Flying Sword God was curious. Classmate Lin, what's the meaning of this? And Lin smiled lightly. Teacher, this is called auspicious, red luck. Flying Sword God, Hu Guan, Yao Mingxi, and the others yell with excitement. You can even think of this Big Brother and is so awesome. Su Xiaolan slapped her forehead. This is a soul formation stage, tribulation, transcendence. Can you be a little more serious? Lu Qinhuan couldn't help but burst into laughter upon seeing this. She pulled out her phone and took a photo of Lin as a souvenir. Flying Sword God was indeed a man who had seen much of the world. He quickly calmed down in the face of Lin's bizarre behavior and asked with a solemn expression, Classmate Lin, you'll need to transcend 49 bolts of tribulation lightning to reach soul formation stage. No one can help you during this period. You'll have to rely on yourself. If you succeed, you'll reach soul formation stage, but if you fail, you'll die. Are you ready? Everyone put away their frivolous expressions upon hearing this and turned to look at Lin nervously. Tribulation transcendence was no small matter. Even though the soul formation stage tribulation was the lowest level of tribulation lightning, the survival rate was still less than half. The prodigies of the various sects would have a much higher chance of successfully transcending tribulation, but there were still many who failed to do so. Hence, this tribulation lightning was also very dangerous for Lin. I'm ready. We can begin at any time, and Lin replied with a calm smile. If he wanted to continue forward and pursue the path to immortality, he definitely couldn't back down now. Flying Sword God nodded and turned to the students around him. Let's move 1,000 feet away from here so we don't interfere with classmate and Lin's tribulation transcendence. Everyone began to retreat upon hearing this. Lin, you can do it. Su Xiaolan looked deeply into Lin's eyes. Her words instantly stirred up the emotions of the students and friends on the field. Classmate Lin, you can definitely do it. Big Brother, you can do it. Big Brother, we'll watch you torture the tribulation lightning. And Lin's heart was filled with warmth as he looked at everyone's words of encouragement and anticipation. Dabai, Xiao Chou, and Xiao Hong also left his side. If the tribulation transcendence was interfered with by any external forces, the tribulation lightning would become even more terrifying. Even formations and talismans wouldn't be able to be used. And Lin, we'll be waiting for your successful return. Su Xiaolan's pleasant voice sounded once again from 1,000 feet away. And Lin took a deep breath as he looked at the green figure whose hands were already clenched into fists. He made a victory sign with his hand. Everyone who had retreated 1,000 feet away stared at Lin with nervous expressions, unwilling to even move their eyes. Thus, a scene began to unfold. Lin had already begun to meditate. Was he preparing to trigger the tribulation lightning? Ah, he pulled out a golden ginseng from his storage ring. What was he doing? Holy F asterisk CK, that ginseng could move. The flying sword god's expression suddenly became serious. This energy fluctuation is extremely unusual. It looks like a divine paragon fruit. Divine paragon fruit? Big brother and has a divine paragon fruit. Why did he take out a divine paragon fruit? Just as everyone was getting more and more confused. He ate the divine paragon fruit. Everyone in the distance exclaimed in shock. The energy contained within the divine paragon fruit was extremely potent. Even a return to void stage mighty figure would most likely explode upon ingesting it, let alone an Enlin who was only of the spirit-nurturing stage. Is classmate Enlin going to be all right? Su Qianyan covered her mouth as she asked with a pale expression. He should be fine. Big brother and is invincible. Although the retarded fan Hu Guan and the others said this, a hint of concern flashed through their eyes. At this moment, Su Xiaolan heaved a sigh of relief. She felt like Enlin had to eat something before he could make his breakthrough. Otherwise, it wouldn't be perfect. Now that he had eaten something, he should be able to make his breakthrough. Just as everyone was feeling extremely concerned, a golden light suddenly appeared in Enlin's eyes. Vital energy instantly swept through the air for 5 kilometers. After a few seconds, dark clouds enshrouded the entire sky as the sound of thunder reverberated throughout the entire floating continent. Chapter 379. The entire Xiaoshan United University was alarmed by the sudden change in weather. A scholarly middle-aged man stood on a treetop and stared at the figure in the distance with a scorching gaze. Sort of mortal Ming Yuan, you still have classes to attend at this time, don't you? A tall and slender woman in a yellow windbreaker and a pair of red-rimmed glasses sat on a huge ancient book with a smile on her face. I've switched to self-study. Sort of mortal Ming Yuan replied without any sense of guilt. He paused momentarily before continuing. Even if the principal forbids spectators, I won't disturb Enlin if I sneak a peek. This is an opportunity for me to attain enlightenment. I have to seize it. At this moment, countless students and teachers on the floating continent were looking out the window. The students were all dumbstruck, and they began to discuss spiritedly among themselves. My God, the sky was so clear just a moment ago. Why are there dark clouds all of a sudden? Is there going to be a storm? Are you stupid? This is the floating academy of the celestial court. How could there be such thick dark clouds in the sky? Could it be that some terrifying enemy has arrived and is causing such a commotion? Bullsh asterisk T. Which idiot dares to come to the celestial court and flex? They must be tired of living. Could it be that someone is transcending a tribulation? Only tribulation transcendence would cause such a phenomenon. My God, could it be Lu Qianwan? At times like this, the teachers would explain with a straight face that this was just an immortal spell invented by Vice Principal Yuhua, and they would tell the students not to make a fuss and to pay attention to the lesson. Of course, this excluded the dozen or so classes that had been switched to self-study. Almost all of the students that had been switched to self-study classes exploded, and they almost skipped class en masse to rush out of the classroom. Almost all of the students were discussing spiritedly about what this phenomenon represented. When they sensed the terrifying energy surging through the clouds, most of them guessed that it had something to do with tribulation transcendence. Thus, many of them looked through the immortal rankings board and discovered that only Lu Qianhuan and Enlin had the highest chance of transcending tribulation. As for why they included Enlin, who was only of the spirit-nurturing final stage, this was due to the mysterious confidence that had been gradually built up in the school. They had never imagined that this kind of baseless speculation would be so close to the truth. On the full moon mountain, the teachers quietly came to the forest, consciously concealing their auras for fear of disturbing the young man at the top of the mountain. Teacher Songqing, aren't you on a business trip with the Immortal Magic Department's division head you? A female teacher asked curiously as she looked at the white-haired old man. Dioscoria Kankengensis stroked his beard with a smile. After learning that my student is about to step into the deity transformation stage, I naturally had to come back to take a look. I taught Lin from Zeroth stage Tao body all the way to soul formation stage. It really wasn't easy. The corner of the female teacher's mouth twitched. There was nothing wrong with Songqing's words, but why did it sound so awkward at this moment? And Lin's entire focus was on the sky, completely ignoring everything that was happening around him. He could feel that a certain shackle in his body had been broken. The beast core within his body was extremely dazzling, and the golden light filled his entire sea of vital energy. He knew that this was a sign that the beast core was about to melt. When a spirit beast reached the deity transformation stage, the beast core within its body would melt, and the core would split into two. The core would become a liquid that would fuse into the meridians, consolidating the meridians and using the meridians to extract vital energy from the beast core. The other would become an ethereal aura of divinity, which would fuse with the consciousness, making the consciousness glow with vitality, as if it had a second life. From this point onward, the consciousness would undergo a fundamental change. Divine sense, divine intent techniques, and other techniques that were related to the consciousness could also be used flexibly. At the same time, one's domain and consciousness could fuse together, completely consolidating and transforming into a true soul formation stage domain. Of course, all of this had to be carried out during the tribulation lightning. Rumble, the dull rumble of thunder finally sounded. And Lin looked up at the sky. There was a flash of light there, as if it was about to tear through the thick clouds. The flashing lightning covered an area of over 1,000 meters, and an extremely terrifying might was accumulating in the sky, causing his heart to palpitate involuntarily. Vice Principal Yuhua was sitting in an ancient pavilion, sipping tea. He looked up at the dark clouds and thunder in the distance, and an expression of amazement appeared on his face. 5 kilometers of clouds, 3 kilometers of lightning. This tribulation lightning of the deity transformation stage is way too terrifying. As expected of the number 1 prodigy of the celestial court. After meditating, Lin's essence, energy, and spirit were already at their peak condition under the extreme circulation of the beast core. He stood up, holding the evil-slaying sword in his hand, and waited for the tribulation lightning to arrive. Above his head, a vast expanse of divine lightning had already surged. The lightning contained within the lightning made even the hearts of the teachers present tremble. Boom! A bolt of golden lightning tore through the clouds, and with a soundless might, it exploded in the sky. Vice Principal Yuhua spat out the tea in his mouth upon seeing this. All of the teachers watching from afar also drew a sharp intake of breath, and their eyes widened to the size of walnuts. What was going on? Golden lightning? Lu Qianhuan rubbed her eyes with an expression of disbelief. I think I'm colorblind. Wait, no, I might be colorblind. What color was that bolt of lightning just then? Golden lightning. It's the tribulation lightning for progressing to the return to void stage. Golden void lightning. Su Xiaolan stared at the young man in the distance, and she clenched her fists so tightly that her nails dug deep into her palms. This is most likely an accident caused by the abnormal weather. The tribulation lightning won't be golden void lightning. It'll definitely be a normal blue divine lightning. Xin Yuan, Chung consoled. Boom! Another earth-shattering explosion rang out. A golden bolt of lightning slithered through the clouds like a water snake, and the space in its wake trembled as the dark clouds were annihilated. Immediately afterward, bolts of golden lightning appeared within the dark clouds in a radius of 5 kilometers. It was as if they had a life of their own as they slithered toward the sky above Lin. Xin Yuan Chung, Zhong Yongyin stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before him, and he even forgot to wave his fan. Impressive. Is Big Brother really going to progress to the return to void stage? No, he won't be able to withstand the bombardment of golden void lightning at his current level. Su Xiaolan bit down on her lower lip and was about to set off. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her. From a moment, he begins his tribulation transcendence. This is classmate and's fate. We can't disturb him. Sword Immortal Ling Xiao spoke in an indifferent voice, and there was an unquestionable conviction in his voice, just as countless people were stunned by the appearance of the golden void lightning. And Lin stared at the golden lightning with a confused expression. Wait, isn't divine lightning blue when progressing to the soul formation stage? Why is it golden now? What kind of lightning is golden? Is it an evolved version or a weaker version? He was a little confused. Even though Lin didn't know what kind of lightning it was, he could sense that it was no less powerful than any of the bolts of lightning he had encountered before. Even the purple golden lightning unleashed by the soul formation final stage horned dragon was no match for the golden lightning in the sky. The flying sword god continued to pull everyone away from the full moon mountain for over 1,000 feet in order to avoid being struck by the power of the lightning. Right at this moment, the golden lightning had already started to converge into a ball. Any single bolt of golden lightning in the sky had the power to annihilate a soul formation stage cultivator, and there were already several hundred of these bolts of golden lightning. A thought suddenly occurred to all of the spectating teachers. If all of these bolts of golden lightning fell at the same time, would the entire full moon mountain be obliterated? Chapter 380. The golden lightning intertwined like a net before slowly converging to form a ball of enormous energy that threatened to collapse the entire sky. F***CK. This really is soul formation stage lightning tribulation. That's way too bad *SS. Lin was initially brimming with confidence, but he couldn't help but feel a little diffident at the sight of the lightning that threatened to destroy the entire sky. He had initially planned to use his trump card only when he was on the brink of collapse from being struck by lightning during his tribulation transcendence. But now, he felt like it was best to use his trump card first. Come on out, chaotic alloy brick. And Lin let loose a heroic roar as his storage ring flashed. And then, there's nothing else. Nanny. And Lin's heart sank, and he summoned the chaotic alloy brick again, but he still couldn't summon it, as if it had been sealed by some kind of power. And Lin, he looked up into the sky to find that the golden lightning was beginning to squirm and fuse. Why couldn't he summon the black brick with the most powerful defensive ability? Could it be that the heavens wanted to kill him, and Lin, Sword Immortal? Right at this moment, something even more astonishing happened. The golden void lightning in the sky slowly converged to form a golden Kirin of over 100 feet in size. The Qilin rolled about in the dark clouds, and every breath it took was like the angry roar of the gods above the 9 heavens. The sharp claws of lightning slashed through the air, bringing with it a series of hissing sounds. Faint cracks appeared in the void like glass that had suffered a heavy blow. No matter how stupid Lin was, he could tell that this lightning tribulation was no ordinary lightning tribulation. He turned toward his friends in the distance to discover that Flying Sword God's expression was extremely grave. Su Xiaolan's eyes were red, and all of his diehard fans who were extremely confident in him had pale expressions on their faces. Things appeared to be even more serious than he had imagined. All of the teachers on the Full Moon Mountain were also a little dumbstruck. Can anyone tell me what kind of tribulation Lin is transcending? Not only did a soul formation stage cultivator attract golden void lightning, but this F***king golden void lightning can manifest and nurture a spirit. The heavens can't tolerate him anymore. Did classmate Lin destroy the world in his past life? I think we should retreat a little more. 10 miles of dark clouds rolled, and the world became dark. However, the golden void lightning Kirin that had emerged from within the dark clouds brought a golden hue to heaven and earth. The lightning that carried the power of heaven and earth could make people unable to resist, and the dazzling light made people want to submit. At the foot of the full moon mountain, many figures appeared again. They were the students who couldn't help but skip class and secretly came to investigate. What was worth mentioning was that when they saw the lightning Qilin in the sky that looked down upon all living beings, they no longer had any thoughts of continuing forward. And Lin's breathing quickened. Just by raising his head to face the Qilin, his entire body was trembling uncontrollably. He couldn't imagine what it would be like when a thunder Qilin fell. Right at this moment, the Kirin materialized from the golden void. Lightning suddenly arched its body and turned its head toward Lin, preparing to pounce. The lightning tribulation was about to descend. Countless students and teachers forgot to breathe. Their hearts were in their throats. And Lin gritted his teeth. He definitely couldn't back down at a time like this. Even if the heavens were to use hacks against him, he had to face them head on. So what if I'm using hacks during the lightning tribulation? It's not like I haven't seen hacks before. He encouraged himself as he spoke. Right at that instant, a thought suddenly occurred to him, and a thought suddenly welled up in his mind. Hacks? Would that work? But this was a lightning tribulation, so it couldn't be that insane. The golden void lightning Kirin fell, as if it were a divine punishment descending from the heavens. Golden light instantly filled the entire heaven and earth, becoming the only color in the world. An earth-shattering boom reverberated through the air for close to 5 kilometers. In that instant, everyone felt a sharp pain in their eyes, and they felt as if their eardrums were about to explode. That golden lightning is so terrifying. How is classmate and Lin? Holy F asterisk CK, it's so bright, I'm gonna go blind. Most of the students had their eyes blinded by the golden lightning. He's fine. He'll be fine after a while. The golden void lightning only takes an instant to strike, so you can open your eyes now. A knowledgeable student recognized this type of lightning and offered words of consolation. All of the students opened their eyes, only to be greeted by a boundless golden light. Holy F asterisk CK, it's so bright, I'm going to go blind. All of the students yelled as they closed their eyes again, with tears streaming down their faces. Who said the golden void lightning only takes an instant to fall? Hurry up and come out. I promise I won't beat you to death. No, there's something wrong with this lightning. That's right, after the sound of the lightning appeared, it became eerily silent. Are we deaf? At this moment, many of the teachers with high cultivation bases opened their eyes to stare at the source of the golden light with dumbstruck expressions. Even Vice Principal Yu Hua's eyes widened, as if he had seen a ghost. The golden void lightning Kirin had already reached in Lin with a sinister expression on its face, but it was imbued with paramount might. However, Lin's finger was pointed directly at the golden void lightning Kirin. Both of them froze on the spot, as if they were frozen in time. The golden light emanating from the golden void lightning Kirin lit up the entire space, creating a peculiar image with dark clouds as the background and golden lightning as the main theme. And Lin was dumbstruck. He didn't think that his lightning manipulation technique would be able to manipulate tribulation lightning as well. Ha ha! And Lin suddenly chortled with glee. Tribulation lightning, come and strike me. Aren't you a badass? If you dare to use hacks to transform into a Kirin, then I'll use hacks to control a Kirin. His voice reverberated throughout heaven and earth, bringing everyone back to their senses. They were then struck by an even more incredulous feeling. And Lin was going to use tribulation lightning to refine his body, fuse his core, and focus his mind, so he had to make this Kirin descend. However, for this process, he could naturally choose a gentler method. Come slowly. And Lin crooked a finger that was flashing with lightning, and the mighty golden void, lightning Kirin slowly descended toward Lin like an obedient little beast. It stopped a foot away from Lin, and Lin swallowed involuntarily as he sensed the boundless power imbued within the Kirin before him. He slowly extended his right hand toward the golden void lightning Kirin before making contact. Boom! Terrifying lightning instantly surged into Lin's body. This surge of energy surged through his meridians, flesh, and blood, as well as the beast core above his sea of vital energy. The beast core circulated to its maximum extent, and under the catalysis of the golden void lightning, the golden color of the beast core became even purer. It exuded boundless light and heat, as if it were sun. At this moment, Lin suddenly let loose a wail of anguish. Ow, it hurts! Be gentle. The golden void lightning Kirin obediently shifted its butt toward the sky as he howled in pain. Don't go too far. Just stay close and don't be so violent, hey. That's it. That's right, that's it. Gasp. That feels good. The students had just gotten used to the brightness of the golden void lightning with great difficulty before they were blinded by the scenes unfolding before their eyes. All of the teachers were also filled with incredulity. They felt like they couldn't understand this world anymore. Earth Immortal Ming Yuan's breathing accelerated, and his eyes were filled with a scorching light as his body trembled. This is the scene, this is the smell, ha ha. Classmate and Lin really knows how to surprise me. Do you know why the tribulation lightning looks like this? Do you know why Lin is able to make the tribulation lightning look like this? Earth Immortal Ming Yuan asked the beautiful woman in black silk beside him. Earth Immortal Yu Ying came to her senses upon hearing this sudden question. Why? She asked curiously. Earth Immortal Ming Yuan danced with excitement. This is all fate. This is all fate. Do you understand? Madagascar. All of Lin's friends finally heaved a collective sigh of relief upon seeing this. Even though it was quite inconceivable, but it looked like Lin was no longer in danger. Thus, right before everyone's eyes, the golden void lightning Kirin, which was imbued with the might of heaven and earth and the terrifying tribulation lightning, was so obedient that it was touching. It didn't make any noise, and it did whatever Lin told it to do and cooperated with him to the best of its ability. Chapter 381. That's too strong. Slow down. Let me cool down. This is just right. It feels so good. And Lin extended his hand and continued to absorb the power of the tribulation lightning. The golden void lightning Kirin's body had already become a lot thinner. The beast core in his body slowly liquefied and flowed into his meridians, strengthening his meridians. His consciousness began to expand as he communicated with the spirit of heaven and earth. All of this proved that Lin was slowly transcending his tribulation. That's right, very slowly. It would hurt if it was too fast. The onlookers looked at this strange scene that they had never seen before. Even now, they were still in a daze. A young man in a red robe stood at the summit of the mountain and placed his right hand into the mouth of the golden void lightning Kirin, as if he were an intimate envoy to the divine lightning. They would never be able to forget this miraculous scene. Dark clouds surged within a radius of 5 kilometers, and golden lightning flashed in all directions. Meanwhile, this man, named Lin, was in the middle of controlling the golden void lightning tribulation. Third brother, what do you think, Wolf? Dabai asked in a daze. I think Big Brother and his super badass. What do you think, Big Boss Hong? Xiao Chao's bulb-like eyes shone with awe and admiration. Master is getting more and more hardcore awe. Xiao Hong said in her sweet voice. Xiao Chou. Dabai, the homeroom teacher, flying sword god, heaved a sigh of relief as an expression of amazement appeared on his face. I don't understand this student anymore. He's just transcending a tribulation lightning. There were already over 1,000 students gathered at the foot of the full moon mountain. Through their telescopic immortal techniques, they already knew that the person transcending the tribulation was Lin. Hence, their excitement was predictable, and they almost rushed to the summit of the full moon mountain. The golden void lightning Kirin's body had already shrunk by half, and Lin's aura had also transcended a certain threshold. The golden void lightning flowed from his palm and continued to refine his body. His sea of vital energy had already been enshrouded by a golden light, and he had no idea what was going on inside. All he knew was that the beast core hadn't completely melted yet, and Lin's body had initially been struck by the power of the golden void lightning, and he felt as if his body were about to be torn apart. But as time passed, he became stronger and stronger, and as his endurance grew stronger, the pain became weaker and weaker. Come on, more ferocious, did you not eat? He continued to yell at the golden void lightning Kirin. 15 minutes later, the golden void lightning Kirin finally disappeared from heaven and earth. Lin raised his head and looked at the gradually dispersing dark clouds in the sky, feeling a little unsatisfied. All of this was too surreal, too bizarre. Even now, he still couldn't believe that he had successfully overcome the heavenly tribulation. The soul formation stage, lightning tribulation, ended just like that? I'm already at the soul formation stage? He looked at his hands and sensed his body. His strength had indeed increased by leaps and bounds. Ha! Big Brother and has broken through to the soul formation stage. Woof! Seeing the dark clouds begin to dissipate, Dabai shouted excitedly. Xin Yuan Cheng and the others happily flew toward Enlin, intending to congratulate him. A smile appeared on Enlin's face as he began to inspect his sea of vital energy. However, in the instant that he did so, he was greeted by the sight of a boundless golden light. Immediately afterward, he felt as if his consciousness was being sucked away, and his blood churned violently. He suddenly knelt to the ground in exhaustion, and there seemed to be something in his stomach. Everyone was given a fright upon seeing this. Enlin, what's wrong? Su Xiaolan let loose a cry of surprise and immediately ran over to support Enlin before using an immortal spell to inspect his body. His vital energy was normal, but his vital energy was in disarray, and the reason was unknown. The flying sword god also placed a finger on Enlin's glabella. However, after a few seconds, a perplexed expression appeared on his face, and he clearly wasn't able to find anything either. Right at this moment, Enlin gripped his stomach in agony and yelled, it hurts so much. What the hell is in my stomach? In your stomach? There's nothing in your stomach. The flying sword god furrowed his brows in bewilderment. Everyone was extremely worried. Looking at Enlin in so much pain, it felt 10 times more painful than when he was transcending the tribulation. Su Xiaolan didn't know what to do. She could only pat Enlin's back lightly with her fair, jade-like hands. However, after a few pats, it actually worked. Enlin's body suddenly bent over, and his head fell toward the ground. Wretch! Plop! A shiny golden object was spat out by him. Wah 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 wah! Clear cries began to ring out. Everyone drew a sharp intake of breath as they looked at the object on the ground. Su Xiaolan's beautiful eyes widened, and her mind buzzed. Ha ha! Congratulations to Enlin for successfully transcending the tribulation. A spatial gate opened, and Vice Principal Yuhua walked out, just in time to witness the scene of Enlin vomiting. Then his smile froze on his face, and the corners of his mouth twitched. His emotions, which he had just managed to calm down, were instantly thrown into turmoil. Holy F***CK, what did he vomit? Wah wah! The cry didn't stop. What appeared in front of everyone was a shiny golden baby with golden lightning revolving around its body. The baby was only about the size of a small bowl, and it had delicate features. Its golden eyes were blurry with tears, and its short limbs were constantly wobbling. Everyone fell into a strange silence. Only the child's cries continued to reverberate in this space. Even Enlin stared at the child on the ground with a blank expression. He began to doubt this world. Who am I? Where am I? Why did I vomit? No one expected Xiao Hong to be the first to speak. Xiao Hong said in her sweet voice, how can you not wet your shoes if you always walk by the river? Master, this is the child you gave birth to with a lightning Kirin, right? Xiao Hong's words were like a clap of thunder that exploded in everyone's hearts. Everyone came to a sudden realization. That's right, everything made sense now. Makes sense my A***S. Enlin yelled as his vision darkened, and he almost fainted. All of the teachers who were spectating from afar also flew toward the summit of the mountain to congratulate the first soul formation stage student of the university. However, they all fell silent upon seeing the scenes unfolding before them. What did we just see? Should we have come so early? As expected of someone who had been by Enlin's side for many years, Su Xiaolan quickly recovered from the shock and carefully held the baby in her hands. A hint of excitement appeared in her limpid eyes, and she handed the little doll over to Enlin as she spoke in a gentle voice. Enlin, seeing as this is the child of you and the golden void lightning Kirin, why don't you call him Kirin? And Kirin? That's a great name. He'll definitely become a renowned figure on the entire continent like Big Brother and Kirin. His future is limitless just from the name alone. He's definitely a Kirin. Everyone chimed in and expressed their own opinions when they heard this. Even the flying sword god nodded in agreement and praised Su Xiaolan for coming up with a good name. A dainty smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face, and her bright eyes curved into crescent moons. She looked up at Enlin with a smug expression. What do you think? My naming skills are pretty good, right? Naming skills? And Kieran? Is he really my child? Tears welled up in Enlin's eyes as he looked at the golden baby in Su Xiaolan's hands. Chapter 382. Come, Enlin, give your daddy a hug. Su Xiaolan handed the doll in her hand to Enlin. Enlin accepted the golden doll with trembling hands, and he was momentarily at a loss for words. The golden doll's skin was very smooth and soft, and it was tingling to the touch. This was most likely due to the golden lightning revolving around its body. The golden doll cried for a while before finally stopping, as if it was tired. It then turned to look at Enlin with a pair of large, woof-woof eyes, and its face was filled with curiosity and curiosity. Little thing, who are you? Why did you come out from my stomach? Enlin asked as he nudged the golden doll's little face. The golden doll seemed to be unable to understand Enlin's words, and it suddenly yelled, Daddy! I'm not your daddy. Enlin retorted with a serious expression. The golden baby blinked in confusion before turning to Su Xiaolan. Mommy, she called out in a crisp voice. A blush appeared on Su Xiaolan's face upon hearing this. Like father, like son. Hasn't Kieran been such a pervert since he was a child? Enlin's eyes almost blacked out upon hearing this. Like father, like son? He didn't want to be a father. To their surprise, the onlookers were once again greeted with another wave of excitement. Su Qinyan clasped a hand over her mouth in shock. Classmate Enlin clearly didn't kiss the golden void lightning Kieran. So how did he get pregnant and give birth? Isn't childbirth supposed to be done by the female? Why can a male do it too? Wait, is the golden void lightning Kieran male or female? Everyone pretended not to hear Su Qinyan's 100,000 questions. God knew how twisted this little girl's worldview had become. They didn't dare to offend Chong Hu Guan. Yao Mingxi and the other hardcore fans immediately knelt on the spot with excitement. As expected of Big Brother and as expected of the #1 legend in school, he even dared to defy divine lightning and gave birth to his son. The heavens can't stop Big Brother and anymore. Woof. Dabai chimed in. I heard that a ferocious man by the name of Long Outyin has appeared in the Kingdom of the Nine States recently, and he claims that he's going to defy the heavens. It looks like Long Outyin is no match for classmate Enlin. After all, classmate Enlin has already transcended the heavenly tribulation and given birth to Enchilin. Tang Shiman exclaimed with amazement. People like Lu Debeo and Zhao Huayin, who were deeply influenced by rationalism, were speechless. They could only stare blankly at the absurd scene before them, feeling that the world had gone mad. Earth Immortal Ming Yuan, who had rushed over from the foot of the mountain, clasped his hand over his chest, and a brilliant light burst forth from his eyes. Ha ha! Thank you for helping me attain my Tao, classmate Enlin. I'm going to go into seclusion right away, and I'll be sure to return to you once I reach the return to void stage. Earth Immortal Ming Yuan burst into laughter. Then, he turned to Vice Principal Yuhua. Principal, I'd like to request a leave of absence from you. Principal, please allow me to apply for a leave of absence. Vice Principal Yuhua took a deep breath and did his best to suppress the astonishment on his face. He waved a hand. Hurry up and go. It's the school's fortune and the heavenly court's fortune that you were able to progress to the return to void stage. Earth Immortal Ming Yuan bowed deeply to Enlin before departing, leaving behind a group of astonished students and teachers. What's going on? Enlin's tribulation transcendence can help teacher break through to the return to void stage. I feel like my heart is convulsing. I can accept that classmate Enlin's tribulation lightning transformed into golden void lightning, and I can accept the fact that the golden void lightning is under his control. But why the F***CK is he giving birth to a baby right after his tribulation transcendence? Not only that, but he can even help teacher Ming Yuan break through to the return to void stage. He's a celestial immortal. He's one of the most powerful beings in the celestial court. Vice Principal Yuhua Linming felt like things were going to get out of hand if things continued like this. He immediately dismissed most of the teachers and students before leading Enlin and the others to a secluded place. Only then did he begin to figure out what was going on. Enlin, Xianyuan Cheng, Su Xiaolan, and the others were gathered in a small pavilion beside a lake. Vice Principal Yuhua Linming had teleported them here using a spatial spell technique. Celestial Immortal Yuhua looked at the golden baby in Enlin's hand and tried to poke the baby's stomach with his finger. The golden baby bared its fangs and glowered at Yuhua. The golden baby immediately opened its mouth and bit down on Yuhua's finger upon discovering the light emanating from Yuhua's fingertip. Crackle. An expression of shock appeared on Yuhua's face when he felt an extremely pure burst of lightning strike his finger. Principal, what's going on with this baby? Enlin could only pin his hopes on the vice principal, and he asked nervously. Yuhua withdrew his hand, and his brows furrowed slightly. To put it more accurately, Enkiran isn't a complete intelligent life form. However, he's extremely intelligent, and it's a little similar to an artifact nurturing a spirit. Since you gave birth to him, how are you going to establish a spiritual connection with him? Enlin heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this. Thankfully, the golden baby wasn't a real child. Otherwise, he really would be dead. A grown man giving birth to a child. How terrifying would that be? He calmed himself down and tried to communicate with the golden baby with his mind, but to his surprise, there was no response. Yuhua's expression didn't fluctuate much upon seeing that he was unable to establish a spiritual connection with Enlin. Instead, he continued, Enkiran's body contains extremely pure lightning energy, and he also has a unique meridian for circulating energy. If you want to establish a spiritual connection with him, you could try to bind him with your blood. That's a good idea. Enlin's eyes lit up upon hearing this. He had been completely dumbfounded by what had just transpired, and he didn't even have time to think about the key points in this matter. Although he didn't know what this golden baby was, seeing as it had escaped from his stomach, it had to be closely connected to him. If it wasn't some kind of life form, then it had to be some kind of spiritual object. If he wanted to find clues, perhaps he could start with his blood. Enlin immediately released his blood essence and had it hover in front of the golden baby. Everyone held their breaths upon seeing this, as if they were witnessing a grand moment. Enkiran looked at the blood essence before him with curiosity. He sniffed it, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He immediately licked the blood essence clean with his tongue. How is it? Do you feel anything? Celestial Immortal Yuhua asked. Enlin shook his head with confusion etched on his face. He then looked at the miniature human before him with curiosity. The miniature human smacked its lips with a blissful expression. However, its expression suddenly turned livid. Everyone was given a fright upon seeing this. Even Celestial Immortal Yuhua's eyes widened in shock. Wah! And Kiran began to sob, and his stomach rolled around on Enlin's palm. What's going on? Could it be that Enlin is resistant to classmate Enlin's blood? Xianyuan Cheng was perplexed. Why do I feel like Enkiran has been poisoned? Xiaohong shook her red head as she spoke in a sweet voice. Gasp! A thought suddenly occurred to Enlin upon hearing this. His blood was lethal to a certain kind of life form. Then could it be that this miniature human had been poisoned by his blood? As if to verify Enlin's conjecture, Enkiran began to foam at the mouth, his eyes rolled over, and his stomach bulged bam. The sound of a balloon bursting suddenly erupted. Enkiran exploded before everyone's eyes. Chapter 383. Enlin almost fainted from fear upon seeing Enkiran explode. Everyone else's hearts also jolted violently as their eyes widened in shock. Before anyone had a chance to react, the exploding golden lightning transformed into a ball of light that crashed into Enlin's body before fusing as one. Enlin shuddered as a numb sensation spread throughout his entire body. He felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. Enlin, are you all right? Everyone gathered around him with curious expressions. I'm fine. To be more accurate, I don't feel anything after my entire body went numb. And Lin waved his hand to indicate that there was no need to worry. Su Xiaolan was still a little concerned. Then Kieran has probably entered your body. Can't you sense him? And Lin thought about it for a moment and suddenly recalled that he had used his internal vision to inspect his sea of vital energy when he spat out in Kieran. Thus, a certain speculation began to form in his mind. He began to inspect his sea of vital energy to see what had changed within it. The peculiar scene that followed caused him to fall into a daze. Within the vast sea of vital energy, the entire space was dyed a faint golden color. A glittering golden doll, with lightning entwined all over its body, was laughing heartily with one leg crossed over the other. It was lying on the sea of vital energy, moving up and down with the undulations of the sea of vital energy. It had a carefree appearance. Then it began to swim again, creating a series of splashes in the sea of vital energy. And Lin, what's the matter? Su Xiaolan asked in a gentle voice upon seeing Lin's peculiar expression. And Lin's lips twitched. He didn't know what to say. That golden baby is swimming in my sea of vital energy. Silence. Complete silence. Everyone stared at Lin in silence with unblinking eyes. Yes, you heard me right. It's true. He knows backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle. He's having a lot of fun, and Lin continued. Flying Sword God fell silent while Vice Principal Yuhua slapped his forehead. Vice Principal Yuhua was astonished. You can swim in the sea of vital energy? No, I should ask, what is this gold baby? Why can it swim in the ocean of energy? And Lin looked at Celestial Immortal Yuhua with a resentful expression. Principal, shouldn't you be the one answering my questions? Why are you asking me instead? Vice Principal Yuhua, can you summon in Kieran again? The Flying Sword God asked. I tried just now, but I couldn't communicate. And Lin sighed and said, I feel like Kieran might have something to do with your domain. Why don't you activate your domain first and see if you can detect Kieran's presence? The Flying Sword God suggested. And Lin's eyes lit up. This was a good idea. A long period of silence ensued. Classmate Lin, what is it? The Flying Sword God couldn't help but ask. An awkward expression appeared on Lin's face. How do I activate my domain? The Flying Sword God's body swayed as he stared at Lin speechlessly. Vice Principal Yuhua spoke in a meaningful voice. Domain is the embodiment of a cultivator's Tao. Classmate Lin, you only need to activate your Tao intent realm to activate your domain. Tao intent realm? That was King awkward. He wasn't even at half-step soul formation stage. How could he have Tao intent realm? A long period of silence ensued. Principal, I don't have Tao intent realm. You know that I jumped directly from spirit nurturing final stage to soul formation stage. So, I really can't contain my domain. And Lin confessed. You can't contain your domain? Do you have to contain your domain? The Yuhua Vice Principal opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. This tribulation transcendence wasn't normal at all. It's true that Lin is at soul formation stage now, but he doesn't even have a domain. Can you believe that? After a moment of silence, the Yuhua Vice Principal seemed to have realized the difficulty of dealing with this issue. Forget it. Let's think about this at length. Classmate Lin must be tired from today's tribulation transcendence. He should go back and get some rest. Ling Xiao, look after classmate Lin and inform me if there are any problems. All right, Principal. Classmate Lin is our school's pet. I definitely won't let anything happen to him. The Flying Sword God replied with a carefree smile. And Lin knew that even the Yuhua Vice Principal wouldn't be able to resolve this issue after hearing this. His eyes dimmed as he looked up into the sky. Even though he knew that his cultivation path was a little crooked, he really couldn't believe that it was this crooked. Am I really already at soul formation stage? And Lin couldn't help but feel perplexed. He bade farewell to his friends and returned to his residence. Then he spaced out. He looked at his sea of vital energy for a while. The golden baby was already tired from swimming and was panting heavily as he lay on the waves. He looked so adorable, and Lin slapped his forehead. He didn't know how to deal with this strange thing. Xiao Cho made his way over and patted Lin's shoulder a few times in consolation. Big brother, and don't take things too hard. You were already destined to walk further and further down this extraordinary path when you formed your Beast Core anyway. So what if you don't have a domain? Big brother, and you were able to beat the crap out of those soul formation stage mighty figures who had domains when you were only at spirit nurturing stage. Now that you've broken through to soul formation stage, you become even more powerful. Even without a domain, I'm sure no soul formation stage mighty figure will be able to defeat you. It had to be said that Xiao Chao's words were very effective. Having a domain was indeed cool and flashy, but to a practical person, the most important things were the ability to advance and the combat prowess one could unleash in the face of danger. And Lin looked at Xiao Cho and nodded. You're right. The path is paved by one's own efforts. I've been a badass for so long. I'm sure I'll be able to walk further and further down the path of badass. So what if I'm a weirdo? All that matters is that I can succeed. I won't give up because of this. Even if there's no path ahead of me, I'll forge a new one. He regained his composure and reignited his fighting spirit. He began to look at his system, and Lin decided to see what kind of conditions were required for him to progress to the next rank. He clicked on the Cultivation Base tab to find that the contents there had already changed. Soul Formation Intermediate Stage, Condition, increase in Kieran's weight to 1 kilogram. And Lin, what's going on? Even the system has admitted that the golden baby's name isn't Kieran. And Lin clasped a hand over his chest. He wanted to vomit blood. Hee, I really am a weirdo. Other soul formation stage cultivators are all cultivating their true intent and observing laws. What about me? Am I supposed to raise a F*king baby? Raising a baby is one thing, but who the F*ck can tell me how to raise this golden baby? I don't have any breast milk. Even if I do have breast milk, I won't drink it. And Lin fell into a long period of silence as he looked at this system mission. After a while, he couldn't help but look at his sea of vital energy again to look at Kieran. The golden baby seemed to have rested enough. He stood on top of his chi sea and spread his legs. A golden liquid flowed out from his crotch and turned into a stream of water that fell into his chi sea, creating a splashing sound. And Lin, Chapter 384. Was there no justice in this world? Was there no law in this world? And Lin really wanted to call the police. Someone was defecating in his sea of vital energy. But then he came to the tragic realization that no one would believe him. Even if someone did believe him, no one would be able to help him, I'm so tired. I really want to change this F*ket up life. And Lin's fighting spirit had been greatly diminished, and he lay on his bed with a lifeless expression. At the same time, news of Lin's breakthrough to the soul formation stage spread throughout the entire school, creating a massive stir. Especially when the students heard that the tribulation lightning in the sky was a golden void lightning Kieran, and that Lin was able to control the golden void lightning Kieran, all of them fell silent. After that, they heard that Lin had successfully transcended his tribulation and that he had given birth to a Kieran son. All of the students were completely dumbstruck, as if they were listening to a heavenly book. Who would have thought that Senior Lin would actually break through to the soul formation stage? He's the first soul formation stage cultivator in our school, right? His rate of progression is insane. Isn't that the main point? Shouldn't the main point be that student Lin has refreshed our outlook on cultivation, transcending the golden void lightning tribulation, playing with the golden void lightning tribulation like a pet, and even giving birth to a mighty life form in the end? This has indeed reshaped my outlook on cultivation. I can't even describe my feelings with words. I just want to kneel down to Big Brother and right now. I'm so excited. We're living in the same school as a living legend. Thus, Lin's tribulation transcendence became the hottest topic in the school during this period of time. After resting for 2 days, Lin returned to school as usual. Lin discovered that his fame had already reached a terrifying level as he walked through the school grounds. From time to time, he would bump into die-hard fans who would scream at him to scare him away. Of course, these screams weren't intentional. They were simply two excited, Dao discussion posters, friendship posters, confession letters, all of them flew toward him like snowflakes. And Lin naturally didn't want to waste too much time reading all of these things. After all, there were simply too many for him to read. At most, he would just read the confession letter. The mission of raising Kieran's weight to 1 kilogram had been temporarily shelved by Lin. He didn't even know how to communicate with Kieran, so how was he supposed to fatten him up? And Lin thought back to when he was carrying Kieran in his arms. He estimated that Kieran weighed around half a kilogram, which meant that he had to double Kieran's weight. This was a terrifying and difficult task. On an evening when the multicolored light enveloped the entire continent, an unexpected guest came to Lin's small pavilion. Dong, 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 dong. There was a rhythmic knock on the door. Lin opened the door and was greeted by the sight of a pair of white, furry ears perked up. Looking down, there was a pair of round eyes and white rabbit teeth. "Good evening." Full in a pleasant voice rang out, and this rabbit that was half the height of a human swaggered into the room, completely not treating itself as a rabbit. And Lin's lips twitched. If it weren't for the fact that she was still holding a bag of things in her hands, he would have kicked her out a long time ago. "Master, you two, I didn't think that you would take the time to visit me. I'm extremely flattered." And Lin offered a fawning smile as he poured some tea. "For you, Tuesday, the palace leader heard that you've already broken through to soul formation stage, so she sent me here to deliver some congratulatory gifts," you two said in a mature manner. Sigh, "Of course not. How could I ask Celestial Maiden Chong to spend money on me? There's no need to give me anything. I'm already very happy that you came to visit me." And Lin waved his hands in denial. You two smiled lightly as her large ears swayed in the air with elation. "You're a smart one. Then this Chong, mooncake is mine. I haven't had enough at the Moon Palace yet. The palace leader is so stingy, but she's treating you so generously." Humph. And Lin was furious to hear this. This was Chong, E's mooncake. Was this rabbit going to take him seriously just because he was being modest? With this in mind, he immediately snatched the bag from U2's hands at lightning speed before stowing it away into his storage ring. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water, and it was quite a sight to behold. "Seeing as Master U2 is here, I naturally can't let you come here for nothing. Hence, I think it's best to cooperate with you so that you can complete the mission that Chong has assigned to you." And Lin wore a righteous expression as he stared at you Tuesday. U2 blinked. "I understand that, but why are you taking the dried carrots that I ate on the way here?" White light flashed from her fingertips, and an intricately wrapped yellow plate appeared on the table. "This is the mooncake that Chong wanted to give you." And Lin, this was an extremely awkward situation. In the end, Lin brought out U2's dried carrots with a blush on his face, and U2 grumbled a few times about how idiot and really lived up to his reputation. "There are a total of 6 mooncakes in this box, and they're all extremely high in energy. You can only eat one per week at most, so don't be greedy," U2 cautioned. And Lin nodded as he eagerly opened the box. There were 6 golden mooncakes in the box, all of which were as flawless as the full moon in the night sky, and they were exuding an extremely alluring white light. The faint fragrance of osmanthus flowers wafted through the entire room, making one's body tremble. Xiao Hong stopped photosynthesis due to this fragrance, and Dabai was jolted awake from his deep slumber. At the same time, Xiao Cho rushed into the room with golden light flashing from his eyes. And Lin swallowed as he repressed his urge to immediately eat the mooncake. Instead, he turned his gaze toward the white letter inside the mooncake box. He opened the letter curiously to find that the handwriting was as beautiful as flowing water and as pleasing to the eye. The content of the letter read, "Congratulations to fellow Taoist and Lin for progressing to the soul formation stage. I promised to give you a mooncake, and I've never forgotten about it. Now that you've received a double blessing, I'm giving you a mooncake to express my congratulations. Also, I'll be leaving Xiao Yu in your care. Make sure she drops to 25 kilograms within a month." Chang'e, after reading the letter, and Lin turned to U2 with a peculiar expression. "What does this mean?" U2 rolled her eyes. Double blessing means that you've successfully progressed to the soul formation stage and given birth to a child. That's not what I'm asking. Unlin immediately shook his head upon hearing this, but he then seemed to have realized something as his chest tightened again. No, why are you asking about this? This double blessing is toxic. You two shook her head in a resigned manner. Sigh, idiotin'. I won't beat around the bush anymore. The palace mistress thinks I'm too fat to carry, so she doesn't want me anymore. She's given me a time limit of 25 kilograms within a month, and you're the supervisor. Do you understand what I'm saying now? And Lin's lips twitched upon hearing this. Help you two lose weight? He suddenly recalled that he had mentioned to Chong-yi that he was going to help you two lose weight back in the Moon Grove, but who would have thought that she would actually take it seriously? Actually, the mooncakes that Chong-yi had given him were definitely worth a lot, so it was only natural that he would help Chong-yi out. However, he had absolutely no experience in this sort of thing, and Lin was still thinking about how to fatten up his golden baby, and now an immortal rabbit was asking him to lose weight? His mind would most likely be filled with thoughts about weight in the coming days. He couldn't help but sigh with emotion. What was going on with this world? Was he really a F***king cultivator? Chapter 385. When Dabai saw this, he walked over with his head held high. Rabbit, since you're staying here, you have to abide by the rule of first come, first served. You can only be ranked 5th. I'm the second oldest, so you have to call me Brother Bai, understand? Woof. Dabai chuckled as he looked at Tuesday. U2's ruby-like eyes glowed with a cold light, and a jade pestle appeared in her hand. She rested it on her shoulder and chuckled. Hee, you think you're worthy of being ranked ahead of me? Newcomer, there's no Chang'e to protect you here. It seems like you're not willing to be taught a lesson. Now, I'll let you see how powerful Brother Bai is. Woof. Dabai was also unwilling to be outdone. He wore the chaotic heaven-shattering claws on his hand and waved them in the air toward Tuesday. A frosty light tore through the air, accompanied by bursts of sharp screeches. I'll beat you into a crippled dog. Jade Rabbit waved the jade pestle and leaped towards Dabai. Rabbit, don't be arrogant. I'll teach you how to be a rabbit. Woof woof. Dabai roared with rage as he also charged toward Tuesday. Lin watched coldly from his side. He was too lazy to interfere in this matter. Thus, a fierce battle began. Thump, thump, thump. Pa-pa-pa. Da-da. Poo-pee-you-pee-you. The battle ended. Dabai was lying on the ground with a bruised and swollen face, while U2 sat on Dabai's belly with a complacent look on her face. She waved the jade pestle and burst into laughter as she said, Useless dog. Do you really think you can talk nonsense in front of me? You overestimate yourself. Dabai had never thought that he would be ridden by a rabbit one day, and he couldn't help but feel humiliated. However, when he saw the powerful jade pestle, he instantly lost his temper. All right, big sister rabbit, I admit that you're ranked ahead of me. You're big brother and's #1 pet beast. That's fine, right? At least you know what's good for you. U2 nodded with satisfaction before letting Dabai off the hook. However, several seconds later, U2's furry ears pricked up as she glared at him. No, when did I become idiot and's pet beast? My God, what am I so happy about? Hee, it's your good fortune to become my pet beast. And Lin grabbed U2's ear and lifted it up. Then, he realized that the moon rabbit was really F***king heavy. No wonder Chang'e didn't even want to hug it. How dare you be so rude to this rabbit? U2 was so angry that she started yelling. She was about to hit Lin's head with the jade pestle when she saw Lin taking out Chang'e's letter and waving it in front of her. A mysterious wave spread out, causing her to wilt in an instant. Lin put U2 down with a smile and said, I'm your supervisor now, so you have to listen to me. You arrived later than Little Red, Dabai, and the clown, so you can only be rank 5th. Also, here, you must be humble, respectful, and follow the rules. Don't bully Dabai, understand? U2's long ears drooped with a resigned expression. Got it, she didn't have to listen to anyone else, but she had to listen to Chang'e. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to eat delicious food in the Moon Palace from now on. Don't be sad, sister. Big Brother Ba will take good care of you. Woof. Dabai was ecstatic to see that the tables had turned, and he spoke with a solemn expression. You two raised the jade pestle in her hand again, and Dabai immediately cowered like a dog. All right, let's get down to business. How much do you weigh, Xiaoyu? And Lin asked. You two pursed her lips. Don't you know it's very rude to ask a girl about her weight? And Lin's lips twitched. But you're a rabbit, and I have to supervise your weight loss. You two stowed her jade pestle into her storage ring before pulling out a white disc and placing it on the ground before jumping onto it. The disc glowed with a dazzling light, and a number appeared on it. 54. 758. I have to lose over 2 kilograms in a month. Can I use a liposuction immortal technique? And Lin was suddenly struck by a sense of foreboding, and he asked. You two chuckled as a disdainful expression appeared on her face. I'm a mythological beast of the moon. Liposuction immortal technique? Can you even do that? Even the palace leader can't do that. And Lin didn't seem to mind. What's your plan then? I don't have a plan. This is a super difficult problem. I can only wait for the palace leader to change her mind and accept my weight so that I can return to her. A dejected expression suddenly appeared on U2's face as she looked out the window at the darkening sky with boundless grief. And Lin was a little amused by this scene. U2 had been disliked by Chang'e due to her weight. If news of this were to spread, it would be big news. How about this? I'll come up with a weight loss plan for you. You'll only eat a carrot every day and exercise for 6 hours. How does that sound? And Lin suggested with a smile. U2 looked at Lin as if she were looking at an idiot. If you can lose a kilogram or 2 according to this plan, you win. And Lin took a deep breath. What if I don't eat for a month and train for 24 hours every day for a month? U2 flared up with rage. Idiot, you're torturing me. And even if I do that, I won't be able to lose even half a kilogram. That's so hard to lose weight, as expected of a mythological beast of the moon. A surprised expression appeared on Lin's face. It looked like normal weight loss methods were completely useless on U2's day. He had to think of something else. After thinking for a while, he proposed a few more weight loss plans, all of which were rejected by U2's day. In the end, he could only empty his mind and do something meaningful. And that meaningful thing was eat a mooncake. And Lin brought out a mooncake that was as round as a crescent moon from his storage ring. It was only about the size of a bowl, but it seemed to be able to nourish all things under the light of the crescent moon. What a beautiful mooncake! Xiao Hong transformed into a young woman in a red dress and stood off to the side with excitement flashing through her eyes. This was the first time she had developed an interest in something other than the sun. U2 also licked her lips involuntarily. This mooncake is imbued with the power of the moon, and it's made from all types of spirit plants and osmanthus flowers. Not only is it the most delicious mooncake in the world, but it can also extend one's lifespan by 1,000 years. Aside from that, it can also enhance one's meridians and bones, as well as imbue one's sea of vital energy with the power of the moon. Lin, you've only just progressed to the soul formation stage, so you can consolidate your cultivation base after eating this mooncake. Lin's eyes widened upon hearing this, and he couldn't help but sigh with emotion. As expected of a mooncake made by Chang'e, this mooncake is even more valuable than an immortal pill. A smug smile appeared on U2's face. Of course. And Lin cut the mooncake into 5 equal portions with an excited expression, revealing the filling within. The filling was as intricately crafted as golden jade, and the fragrance of the osmanthus flowers was imbued with a unique fragrance that instantly permeated the entire pavilion. It smells so good. Just the aroma alone is so intoxicating. And Lin's eyes narrowed with bliss. Dabai was already drooling all over the ground, and even Xiao Chou was swallowing his saliva incessantly. Come on, I've already cut them up, so each of you can have one. And Lin smiled as he spoke to his beast pets. You're the best, big brotherin. I love you so much, woof. Dabai pounced forward like a hungry wolf, and he immediately placed a small piece of the mooncake into his mouth. He had only just begun to chew on the mooncake when his body shuddered, and he collapsed to the ground as he moaned. That was so good. Big brotherin, that was so good. Woof. And Lin's expression darkened as he kicked the stupid dog aside. Xiao Chou also picked up a piece and began to eat with relish as the light in his eyes became brighter and brighter. "You've finally done something good, master." Xiao Hong picked up a piece of mooncake with her slender fingers before placing it into her mouth, with a seductive expression on her face as she ate with elation. And Lin immediately urged Yu Tu, "Xiao Yu, you should take a piece as well." A hesitant expression appeared on Yu Tu's face. "Heir, this is a gift from the palace leader. Can I eat it as well?" And Lin didn't expect the arrogant Yu Tu to be so polite to him, and a faint smile appeared on his face. "Seeing as you're under my control now, of course I'll share everything with you. Otherwise, why do you think I cut this mooncake into 5 equal portions?" Yu Tu faltered slightly upon hearing this, and she didn't bicker with Lin. Instead, she picked up a piece of mooncake with her pristine white paws. "Then I won't be holding back." And Lin picked up the final piece of mooncake with a smile, as Yu Tu also began to eat. The delicious taste instantly exploded in his mouth, and his entire body shuddered. The power of the moon transformed into a warm current that nourished his entire body, consolidating his cultivation base. A portion of the power merged into his sea of vital energy, giving it a faint glow of moonlight, while another portion enshrouded his consciousness, making it even more solid. In that instant, Lin felt as if he had traveled to the moon and was floating among a sea of osmanthus flowers. Chang, he was smiling at him, and Yu Tu was jumping around him. Countless words could be summed up into a single word. Awesome. Chapter 386. Just as Lin was basking in the wondrous feeling of eating the mooncake, his sea of vital energy began to stir. And Lin could only turn his attention to his sea of vital energy. However, what he saw gave him a fright. The golden baby opened his mouth and swallowed all of the power of the moon into his sea of vital energy. Burp. The golden baby burped before lying down on his sea of vital energy with a content expression. And Lin's eyes lit up. Could it be that this baby could gain weight by eating the power of the moon? He immediately pulled out another mooncake and sliced it in half before placing the other half into his mouth. A feeling of bliss instantly swept through Lin's body, and he collapsed onto his bed. The pure power of the moon filled every part of his body, and the power of the moon flowed into his sea of vital energy, where it began to glow with a faint golden light. The golden baby was extremely excited, and he leaped into the air to devour the power of the moon. Finally, at a certain moment, the space in his sea of vital energy rumbled, and a crescent moon insignia appeared on the golden baby's forehead. At the same time, a number suddenly appeared on his chest, which jumped from 131 to 149. 3 Tai Chu characters also appeared, the full moon. Soon, the words and numbers began to disappear. The golden baby's stomach bulged as he lay down in his sea of vital energy and fell into a deep sleep. There was still a lot of power of the moon in his sea of vital energy, so it looked like the golden baby really had eaten enough. And Lin came to a realization. He wanted to raise the golden baby's weight to 1 kilogram, which was why he wanted the number to become 2. As for how he could feed Kirin, one of the ways he could do that was by feeding him food to circulate energy into his sea of vital energy. The crescent moon insignia on the golden baby's forehead indicated that he no longer needed the power of the moon. It was time to think about what other types of energy he could consume, and Lin turned his gaze toward the remaining half of the mooncake to find that all 4 of his beast pets were staring at the mooncake with envious expressions. Dabai was almost unable to restrain himself as his mouth drew closer and closer to the mooncake. A smile appeared on his face as he distributed the remaining half of the mooncake to his beast pets. The beast pets all yelled, "Long live Big Brother," before happily munching on the remaining half of the mooncake. Just like that, and Lin and the others ate 2 pieces of mooncake that Chang'e sent over. And Lin was in a pretty good mood. Since they were all for his own people to eat, he didn't feel any heartache. Moreover, he also knew how to feed the golden baby. This was the biggest gain. He patted his storage ring to find that there were only 4 mooncakes left out of the original 6. It was a good idea to share such a good item with a friend. The night deepened and the river of stars shone brightly. The students' loft was still brightly lit. None of them had the habit of resting too early. Many of them were either studying spells, meditating, or doing breathing exercises. Of course, there were also people who cultivated overnight. And Lin had changed into a set of white robes, and he looked quite handsome as well. Even though he still couldn't compare to Big Brother Chung in terms of looks, his disposition as a sword immortal was unmistakably on display, and he was much more powerful than Big Brother Chung, who had been walking further and further down the path of weaponry. He looked at himself in the mirror with satisfaction and asked, "Dabai, do you think my temperament is better or Big Brother Chang's?" He wasn't going to compare appearances, so he focused on temperament. Of course, Big Brother An's temperament is better. Dabai replied without any hesitation. That's right. Master has the best temperament. Xiao Hong chimed in a sweet voice. And Lin was ecstatic to hear this. Why do you think I have the best temperament? Because you fed us mooncakes today. Dabai replied without any hesitation. That's right. Master's temperament can last until tomorrow. Xiao Hong replied with an earnest expression. And Lin's chest constricted, and he almost threw up a mouthful of blood. You two burst into laughter upon seeing this, and she couldn't even hold on her care properly. Oomph, you can't even tell that I have the temperament of a sword immortal? You should all go see an ophthalmologist. And Lin grumbled before leaving. He made his way to the nearby loft before gently knocking on the door. The door opened to reveal a lithe and graceful woman in a Taoist robe. She looked like a celestial maiden under the moonlight. The corners of her lips curled up into an exquisitely beautiful smile upon seeing who it was. Lin, you're here to drink tea again? Lin gave an embarrassed smile. Su Xiaolan's sect was situated on a divine tree that was over 10,000 meters tall, and the tea leaves harvested from the divine tree were extremely delicious. Hence, Lin would often come to Su Xiaolan's house to drink tea and chat with her. Why are you still standing outside like an idiot? Hurry up and come in. Su Xiaolan waved a hand with a smile. And Lin didn't refuse. They had been neighbors for close to 3 years, so he had visited her many times. He walked into the loft and was instantly struck by a sense of contentment as he inhaled the refreshing fragrance wafting from within. What tea do you want today? Is it Divine Yang tea or White Moon tea? Su Xiaolan looked at Lin with an inquiring expression. White Moon tea. Lin felt like this tea was more in line with the theme of the night. All right. Su Xiaolan smiled daintily as she retrieved some tea leaves from her storage ring. Her slender hands began to brew tea on the table in an elegant and graceful manner. The two of them chatted for a while before Lin took the initiative to speak. I actually came here tonight because I have something good to give you. What is it? I don't want it if it's too expensive. Su Xiaolan sipped her tea, and her eyes were as bright as a clear spring. It's not expensive. It's just a piece of flatbread, and Lin replied in a light voice. Oh, did you make it yourself? Su Xiaolan's interest was piqued, and Lin didn't say anything. He retrieved a mooncake from his storage ring and placed it on the table. All of a sudden, moonlight illuminated the room, and the fragrance of osmanthus wafted through the air. Su Xiaolan, does your flatbread look like this? And Lin knew that he couldn't hide this from Su Xiaolan, so he could only reveal the truth. Chang, you actually gave it to me, but it's really not expensive. I still have a few more in my storage ring, so you have to accept this one. Su Xiaolan picked up the mooncake and sniffed it with her delicate nose. The aroma was extremely alluring. She put down the mooncake and looked deeply into Lin's eyes. These mooncakes are clearly extraordinary. I didn't think, Chang, you would take the initiative to give you a few. Tell me the truth. What's your relationship with Chang Yi? And Lin, we're not even friends. Actually, Chang, you didn't give me these mooncakes for nothing. I still have to help her moon rabbit lose weight to less than 25 kilograms in a month. And Lin explained in a truthful manner. In the face of Su Xiaolan's questioning, not only was he not annoyed, he was even a little happy. Su Xiaolan blinked in confusion. What's so difficult about that? You could just feed it to Moon Rabbit with weight loss pills. Boom. This was like a clap of thunder exploding in Lin's mind, jolting him to his senses. That's right, it was very difficult for Moon Rabbit to lose weight through physical therapy, but he could still rely on weight loss pills. Normal weight loss pills might not be effective, but there were some high-rank pills that were very potent, so they should be able to dissolve the excess fat in a mythological beast body. He would go and ask Ishi about this tomorrow. Brilliant! And Lin chatted with Su Xiaolan for a while longer and learned that there were many types of pills that had miraculous weight loss effects on beasts. Perhaps he could give them a try, and this made him even more determined to find Ishi. Su Xiaolan put away the mooncakes Lin had given her. It was quite clear that she really liked this present. After all, this was a mooncake personally made by Chang'e. Even for the members of the Celestial Court, it was extremely rare for them to have a chance to taste it. After leaving Su Xiaolan's dorm room, Lin made his way toward Big Brother Cheng in high spirits. Chapter 387. Lin knocked on Big Brother Cheng's door and was greeted by the sight of the extraordinarily handsome Big Brother Cheng. F***CK, Big Brother Cheng, what are you doing? Lin was rooted to the spot upon seeing Xinyuan Cheng, and he cried out involuntarily. Xinyuan Cheng stood tall and straight in his dark green military uniform. The golden stars on his shoulders shone brightly, giving him a majestic and spirited appearance. However, that wasn't the point. The point was, why was Big Brother Cheng wearing a military uniform? A rare blush appeared on Xinyuan Cheng's face upon seeing the shock on Lin's face. Classmate Lin, Huang Shanshan, gave me this uniform. She said that I look very spirited in it, so I tried it on. Sure enough, my aura has improved tremendously, and Lin took a deep breath. His aura had improved tremendously? His aura had become F***King twisted. He had transformed from a transcendent immortal into a soldier who protected the country. Was it because he'd been too deeply influenced by the nuclear bomb and was going to go down the military route? Xinyuan Cheng said with a serious expression, "This uniform can change the spiritual outlook of the sect's disciples. I think we could try to promote it in the sect." And Lin's lips twitched as he imagined the scene of all the sect's disciples in their military uniforms flying on their swords and unleashing all kinds of immortal spells. It had to be said that it was truly a devilish idea. Xinyuan Cheng invited Lin into his room and began to elaborate on his plan to change the spiritual outlook of the sect, from a uniform to the discipline, then to the collective consciousness of the sect, and finally from the military soul of the mortal world to the immortal soul of the sect. The more Lin listened, the more impressed he became. Big Brother Cheng's words really did make sense. As expected of a prodigy, he had a brilliant idea. A nuclear bomb immortal sect was slowly rising. In the end, Lin gave a mooncake to Xinyuan Cheng. Xinyuan Cheng didn't put on any airs and accepted the mooncake graciously, but he remembered this favor in his heart. After that, Lin went to Su Qinyun's attic. In the end, he found out that this girl ate mooncakes during every festival. She ate mooncakes during the Spring Festival, the Lantern Festival, the Dragon Boat Festival, the Mid-Autumn Festival, and even the Double Ninth Festival. Why don't we eat mooncakes on the Qingming Festival? Su Qinyun said, "Drinking osmanthus honey on Tomb Sweeping Day is more effective than mooncakes." A furious slam, and Lin couldn't give out these mooncakes, so he could only teach Su Qinyun a foreign language. An hour later, he returned to his residence and asked Yu how many mooncakes she could eat in a year. Yu said that it was only available once a year, and they could only eat it during the Mid-Autumn Festival. And Lin asked again, "Then why can Su Qinyun eat it 5 times a year?" Tears welled up in Yu's eyes upon hearing this, and she continued to nibble on her carrot in silence. And Lin finally felt a little better upon seeing Yu like this. The next morning, Lin applied for a day of leave before flying toward Do Shui Palace. In Do Shui Palace, Lin went to find Ishi. Ishi had already listed Lin as an VIP guest, so he could go to the pill refinement chamber to find him even if he didn't state the purpose of his visit. "Mr. Lin, congratulations on reaching the soul formation stage. I've been busy with pill refinement these past few days and didn't have the time to congratulate you. I'm very sorry, but I'd like to apologize to you. A joyful expression appeared on Ishi's face upon seeing Enlin, and he immediately went up to greet him. You're too kind, Senior Ishi. Enlin glanced at Ishi. His body had grown a lot rounder, but his movements were just as agile as before. How impressive. He continued, I'm here to ask if you can refine a pill for you two to lose weight. Ishi's eyes immediately widened upon hearing this. You two? Are you kidding me? Why would she want to lose weight? Why else would she want to lose weight? She's too fat, of course. Enlin rolled his eyes. No matter how fat she is, she's not as fat as I am. If I'm not afraid, what's she afraid of? Ishi was perplexed. Enlin's face convulsed. If she was as fat as you, even Chong, you would have to silence her. She's currently over 54 kilograms, so what pill would she need to reduce her weight to less than 25 kilograms? What a waste, what a waste. You too is a mythological beast of the moon. Do you know how precious her fat is? Ishi spoke with an agitated expression. I don't care. This is Chang's idea as well. Just tell me how much the pill will cost. Enlin pursed his lips with a determined expression. Sigh, do you see the fat on my body? Ishi patted his stomach, and his voice boomed like a drum. Enlin nodded. I'm not blind. My fat is imbued with the essence of the pill, and after repeated tempering, half a kilogram of fat contains enough energy to withstand an attack from a true god. This is my alchemy path. When the energy is condensed to the extreme, it's time to transform into a dragon. Ishi spoke in a solemn voice. Enlin faltered slightly upon hearing this. Ishi weighed over 300 kilograms, so his fat was at least 50 kilograms. That was indeed a terrifying thought. Yu too is a mythological beast of the moon and is constantly nourished by the essence of the moon. She also has the bloodline of a mythological beast, so half a kilogram of her fat is countless times more precious than my fat. Do you understand now? Ishi paused momentarily before continuing. Chong, he is even more talented in pill refinement than I am. So why didn't she use pills to help you two lose weight? She probably felt that doing so would be too much of a waste. Enlin felt like this made sense, and he couldn't help but hesitate. Furthermore, the mythological beast Yu too has a special constitution. In order to expel the fat from her body, a 6th-grade immortal pill, the Myriad Lotus Heavy Liquid Pill, is required. 1 Myriad Lotus Heavy Liquid Pill can reduce half a kilogram of fat, and it costs 400,000 spirit stones. 5 immortal pills would be 2 million spirit stones, Ishi explained. Enlin immediately felt like this was a very reasonable explanation, and he nodded in agreement. Senior Ishi's words are truly enlightening. I've benefited immensely from this. Using immortal pills to lose weight is simply too stupid. Fat is such a wonderful thing. It can block impact, it can be used as a backup energy source, and it can also enhance the sensation of touch. Only an idiot would go on a diet. Ishi patted Enlin's shoulder with a gratified expression. Haha, Mr. Enlin, you're really quick on the uptake. Enlin thought to himself, I can't not get it right. That many spirit stones is going to cost me my life. Senior Ishi, since fat is a valuable source of energy, and you said that half a kilogram of your fat is equivalent to an attack from a true god, then do you have any way to quickly use the energy from this fat? Enlin suddenly asked. His idea was very simple. Since he couldn't use medicine to expel fat, then he would use it. Sigh, I have indeed mastered this method, but my pill Dao might not be suitable for you two. Ishi was a little conflicted. So be it. My pill Dao was also inspired by you. If you really want to learn this method to quickly use fat as energy, I'll teach you the cultivation method, and you can tell you two about it. Of course, how much she can learn will depend on her luck. Ishi heaved a forlorn sigh and began to teach the cultivation method to Enlin. Enlin's eyes lit up the more he listened to the cultivation method. This method of energy conversion was completely unheard of. Not only was the conversion process highly efficient and harmless, but it also gave him a vague sense of harmony with the great Tao. He looked at Ishi, who was now as fat as a ball, and took a deep breath. Perhaps Ishii really could carve a new path for himself on the path of pill eating. After listening to the cultivation method, Lin bowed solemnly to express his gratitude to Ishii. You don't need to thank me. If it weren't for your pill-eating performance, I wouldn't have been able to learn this method. Ishii wore a nonchalant expression. There was still a long way to go, and this cultivation method was only the beginning. And Lin bade farewell to Ishii and happily returned with the cultivation method. The door to a new world had been opened to him. This was a world that belonged to countless gluttons. You don't have to worry about getting fat. It will become your greatest power. Now it's up to you too. Chapter 388. Within the dorm room, a series of thumping sounds could be heard. A rabbit that was about half the height of a grown man was hopping around with a long red rope in its hand. She had to complete the target set by Lin of skipping 100,000 times a day, and she was already halfway there. She didn't appear to be fatigued in the slightest, and her expression was extremely calm and collected. And Lin returned to the dorm room to find you two skipping nonstop with a gratified expression on his face. Without any hesitation, he taught you two the cultivation method that Ishii had taught him on how to use fat as energy. You two also wore an expression of astonishment upon hearing this. Who created this self-ignition cultivation method? That's insane. And Lin replied with a serious expression. It was created by Senior Ishii. Without his permission, you're not allowed to reveal this cultivation method to anyone else. Who are you trying to fool? That fat ball. Ishii can create a cultivation method like this? You two was skeptical. Don't underestimate him. This is a cultivation method derived from his Tao of alchemy. It's not that I'm exaggerating, but if the energy in his stomach were to completely explode, he would be able to blow up the entire celestial court. A smug smile appeared on Lin's face. Ishii had taught him the fat-burning cultivation method, so he was like a teacher and a friend to Lin. As such, Lin was extremely proud of Ishii's power. You two fell silent for a moment and didn't refute Lin's words. Instead, she was quite eager to give it a try. I've already attained some understanding of this cultivation method. How about we give it a try? Lin was of the same mind and nodded. All right. Thus, the human and rabbit flew toward the clouds outside the academy atop the black brick and jade pestle. The scorching sun hung high in the sky, and white clouds floated beneath their feet. Lin and you two stood side by side atop the clouds as they activated their respective cultivation methods. Lin felt a warm current form in his abdomen before quickly spreading throughout his entire body. After that, it was as if his body had been set ablaze. The scorching energy flowed through his meridians and converged toward his mouth under the guidance of the cultivation method. Lin and you two looked at each other to see the anxiety in each other's eyes. Then they averted their gazes and looked into the distance with their mouths agape. Boom! An extremely terrifying pillar of golden energy erupted from Lin's mouth, extending for several kilometers and instantly dispelling the white clouds. It was as if a river of flames had appeared in the sky, causing the space around it to twist and warp from the scorching heat. A pillar of golden energy also erupted from U2's mouth. This pillar of energy was more than 10 times more powerful than the one Lin had unleashed, and even Lin was sent flying by the powerful shockwaves. Boom! A sky-shaking boom rang out. The golden beam of light extended for countless miles, and even the clouds within a radius of tens of miles were shattered by the terrifying shockwave. Numerous cracks that were fine like spider webs had even appeared on the trajectory of the flaming pillars, and they emanated the aura of destruction and chaos. You two smacked her smoking lips and said in a crisp voice, "It's so hot." Lin sucked in a breath of cold air and said with widened eyes, "How terrifying." Fortunately, they were cautious and chose to practice in the sky outside the school. If they had practiced like this in the school, the entire back mountain would definitely have been obliterated by U2's mouth cannon. Even Lin's own mouth cannon was extremely powerful. It was comparable to his trump card, Nuclear Lightning Fist, and it was even safer than Lin's. The only downside was that he would suffer from exhaustion after using this technique. Let me see the results first. U2 immediately pulled out the white disc and placed it in midair before leaping onto it with an uneasy expression. The jade disc began to glow with scintillating light, and a number appeared on its surface: 54, 536. And Lin and U2 were both ecstatic. They had succeeded. Their weight had increased from 54, 758 to 54, 536. It's a pity that I feel so tired after using this technique. I'm afraid I can only use it once a day. U2 is a little disappointed. What are you afraid of? Even if you only use it once a day, you'll still be able to lose over 3 kilograms in a month. Your weight loss plan will be a piece of cake. And Lin chortled with glee. U2 was also ecstatic upon hearing this, and she leaped into Lin's arms like a little bunny. When I return to the Moon Palace, I'll give you osmanthus cakes. And Lin almost fell off the flying brick after being knocked flying by U2's day, F***. She's so heavy. Does she think she's a little bunny? And Lin held U2 in his arms as he grumbled internally. However, he was actually quite happy that he was able to help U2 lose weight. And the person he needed to thank the most was Ishi. If it weren't for Ishi, he definitely wouldn't have been able to find a better way to lose weight. And Lin decided to go to Do Shui Palace another day to give Ishi a big present to express his gratitude. All right, I'll give him half a mooncake. The two of them returned to the dorm room with elation in their hearts. After entering the dorm room, they immediately fell asleep. The aftereffects of using the fat-burning technique were even more severe than they had imagined. Not only were they completely exhausted now, but they were also suffering from the pain brought about by the burning technique. The next morning, U2 continued to set off fireworks. After releasing that earth-shattering blast, she returned to the dorm room in low spirits and fell asleep again. And Lin went to Do Shui Palace again to present the other half of the mooncake. Ishi's eyes widened at the sight of the mooncake, and his breathing accelerated. Mr. Lin, this is a mooncake made by Chong Yi. And Lin nodded with a solemn expression. Of course it is. The Moon Palace leader gave me a mooncake. I'm only going to eat half, and I'm giving the other half to Mr. Ishi. You don't have to be polite with me. You have to accept this mooncake. Ishi's eyes were brimming with tears of excitement as he hugged Lin tightly. Brother, you really are my good brother. You're even willing to give me half of such a miraculous mooncake. What else can I say? Don't worry. I'll be sure to remember brother Lin's kindness. In terms of utility, the mooncake was probably about the same as a normal immortal pill, but its actual value was nowhere near that. This was because Chong Yi's mood dictated who she gave the mooncake to, and there were very few people in the celestial court who had the fortune to eat a mooncake like this. As such, the value of the mooncake was extremely high. And Lin smiled warmly and tried to pat Ishi's back, but to his surprise, he only managed to pat his arm. Thus, the two of them embraced each other passionately for a while longer. And Lin didn't expect Ishi to be so emotional. He didn't know whether he was moved by Chong Yi's precious mooncakes or whether he was moved by Chong Yi's love for him, but he was extremely emotional as he sobbed like a baby. All right, Mr. Ishi, I still have something to ask you. And Lin had no choice but to cut off this emotional scene. What do you want to ask? Just ask. I'll tell you everything I know. Ishi looked at Lin with an extremely friendly and passionate gaze, and Lin was a little unaccustomed to it. It's actually not a big deal. I just want to know if there are any pills that can directly diffuse the power of the pill into 1C of vital energy and form a ball of energy. And Lin recalled some of the characteristics of that day before replying. Ishi took a deep breath, and the light in his eyes became even more dazzling than before. Could it be that Mr. Lin is going to perform pill eating again? Even though pills that can form balls of energy in 1C of vital energy are extremely rare, I can still refine a few types. Chapter 389. What are they? Tell me. And Lin's eyes lit up. Ishi pondered for a moment before replying. The 7th grade immortal pill, War Spirit Immortal Pill, can manifest the power of spirit severing in the sea of vital energy. The 6th grade immortal pill, Frost God Wolf Pill, can manifest the power of Wolf Frost in the sea of vital energy. The third-grade immortal pill, heavenly scorching realm pill, can manifest the power of heavenly flames in the sea of vital energy. The second-grade immortal pill, extreme soul life and death pill, can manifest the power of battle in the sea of vital energy. And Lin nodded upon hearing this. The cheapest immortal pill was the seventh-grade immortal pill, War Spirit pill. The price of this experiment was really high. Give me a seventh-grade immortal pill, War Spirit immortal pill. He thought for a moment before finally speaking. All right, I'll refine it for you right away. Ishi was extremely excited. He had obtained a mooncake and had the opportunity to witness Lin's pill-swallowing performance again. Today was his lucky day. An hour later, a pill brimming with immortal energy flew into Lin's hand. This immortal pill cost him 250,000 spirit stones, which was just barely within his acceptable range. He swallowed the immortal pill on the spot without any hesitation. Ishi's eyes lit up, as expected of a pill-swallowing mighty figure. He swallowed the pill in such a confident and decisive manner, and his expression was as calm and collected as if he was eating a candy. Such a mental state is truly a role model for all of us. And Lin, the power of the immortal pill quickly spread through his body under the effects of the evergreen technique. An extremely pure burst of energy was constantly strengthening Lin's body. At the same time, a burst of power that could slice through all things slowly seeped into his sea of vital energy, forming a vortex of wind blades. And Lin looked into his sea of vital energy, and his heart rate gradually accelerated. Idiot, hurry up and eat this vortex of wind blades. Sure enough, and Kieran also immediately noticed the vortex of wind blades, and he chuckled gleefully before flying toward it and slapping it in the face. Slap! His sea of vital energy surged, and the vortex of wind blades was forcibly dispersed by the golden baby and Lin. After doing all this, and Kieran yawned and continued to sleep in his sea of vital energy. And Lin's heart ached a little. Was this considered cheating? Could it be that it was a coincidence that Kieran had consumed the power of the moon before, and he couldn't consume other powers that had entered his sea of vital energy? The power of spirit severing was not so easy to disperse. It would form back up in another location. As long as Lin used an immortal technique, it would be imbued with the power of spirit severing. After the wind blade vortex materialized again, and Kieran didn't spare another glance and continued to sleep. Ishi couldn't help but ask upon seeing Lin's aggrieved and sad expression. You failed? And Lin nodded solemnly. Ishi was also quite dejected upon seeing this. He didn't know what Lin had failed on, but the fact that the pill-eating mighty figure hadn't triggered any natural phenomena indicated that the experiment had most likely failed. He consoled, fellow cultivator and Lin, the path of alchemy has always been filled with countless failures. You mustn't be discouraged. Don't give up. Lin, I only ate an immortal pill. Why is he talking about the path of alchemy? However, there was one thing that Lin couldn't agree with, and that was that now was not the time to give up. Fellow cultivator, Ishi, help me refine the sixth-grade immortal pill, the Frost God Wolf pill. And Lin spoke with a determined expression. All right, I'll go and refine it right away. Ishi's eyes lit up, as expected of a pill-eating mighty figure. Once he ate, he would be able to gush out a mouthful of pills endlessly. His heroic spirit soared to the heavens and shook heaven and earth. After another hour, the refinement of the Frost God Wolf pill was completed. Lin held the white immortal pill in his hand, and the howl of a wolf, imbued with an ancient might, suddenly erupted from the immortal pill, striking fear into everyone's hearts. As expected of a sixth-grade immortal pill, to think that it would trigger such a powerful phenomenon. These 350,000 spirit stones were well spent. And Lin smiled lightly as he placed the immortal pill into his mouth. Boom! This time, an icy chill swept through his entire body, causing every single cell in his body to tremble. His bones became more resolute, and his muscles also became more solid. A regal aura emanated from his body, before quickly receding. At the same time, the projection of a frosty wolf god appeared above his sea of vital energy. The wolf god's entire body was azure blue, and it raised its head high, as if it were a king looking down upon all its enemies. Then its head was eaten by Enchantment. The golden baby danced with excitement as he tore the wolf god apart with his bare hands, transforming it into streaks of pure frosty wolf energy before swallowing them into his stomach. Soon, the wolf god was completely engulfed. Boom! The space in the sea of vital energy tremored, and immediately afterward, a snowflake insignia appeared on the golden baby's forehead. At the same time, a number suddenly appeared on his chest, jumping from 149 to 161 along with 3 Tai Chu characters. Frost is full. Yay, success! And Lin was extremely excited by this development, and he jumped up in joy. Perhaps it was because he had just consumed the immortal pill and exercised too vigorously, but he suddenly felt a discomfort in his stomach, which was immediately followed by excruciating pain. Ah, it hurts! Enlin clutched his stomach. Brother Enlin, are you all right? Ishi was given a fright as he held onto Enlin, thinking that Enlin was suffering from excessive pill consumption and immediately prepared to use a spell technique to heal him. Enlin shook his head. I'm fine. Erg. Thump. A golden baby fell to the ground, and the baby bawled loudly. Wah! It hurts. Everyone fell silent. Enlin stood rooted to the spot, not expecting something like this to happen. However, he had seen something like this before, so he was able to remain relatively calm. This was the first time Ishi had seen something like this, and his eyes were as wide as saucers. He looked at Enlin, then at the wailing golden baby on the ground, and his body trembled violently. After a long while, he finally spoke in a stammering voice. Enlin said, Senior, eating pills can give birth. Enlin, Ishi only knew that Enlin had broken through to the soul formation stage, but he had never heard of Enlin throwing up a baby. Thus, he felt as if his worldview had been completely refreshed upon seeing this scene. A certain shackle had been unlocked, and he was presented with a completely different view. Enlin picked up the golden baby and explained with a solemn expression, Eating pills can't give birth. This is a spirit object that suddenly appeared after I broke through to the soul formation stage. Ishi's eyes lit up with a scorching light as he spoke in a trembling voice. I see. Could this be the legendary soul formation stage? Pill spirit domain. This time, it was Enlin's turn to be dumbstruck. He didn't have a domain, so he was extremely astonished to hear that someone was able to link the golden baby to a domain. Holy F***, there's such an explanation? It does make sense. Senior Ishi, can you explain to me what soul formation stage and pill spirit domain is? Enlin asked excitedly. Ishi blinked his large, round eyes in confusion. How would I know? I made it up. Shouldn't Senior Enlin explain this to me? Enlin's chest constricted. You want me to explain? He looked at the golden baby, who had stopped crying and was sucking on its finger, and a sense of sorrow welled up in his heart. Vice Principal Yuhua didn't know. Soul Beast Clown didn't know. The path that he was walking on was so crooked that even he couldn't understand it. So how the F*** was he supposed to explain? Chapter 390. Enlin heaved a resigned sigh as he held the golden baby in his right hand, completely at a loss for what to do. A moment later, an idea suddenly occurred to him, and he pulled out a roast chicken from his storage ring before instructing the golden baby, hurry up and eat it. The golden baby's body recoiled, and he shut his mouth tightly as he shook his head vigorously. Ishi interjected at this moment. Mr. Enlin, what you're doing isn't right. The child is so young, he should be fed milk. Enlin rolled his eyes and grumbled. You have milk? I do. Ishi's eyes lit up with excitement, as if he were doing something extremely noble. He pulled out a bottle of milk from his storage ring with a solemn expression. This is the celestial cow milk from the farm of the Celestial Court, and was personally nurtured by the Bull Demon King. It's delicious, pure, and extremely nutritious. He used a spell technique to transform the mouth of the bottle into a pacifier as he spoke. Good boy. Have a sip It's very delicious. Slurp, slurp, slurp. And Kieran shrieked in fright at the sight of the approaching milk bottle, and he slapped his right hand through the air. Boom! A bolt of golden lightning imbued with monstrous might pierced through the air, annihilating the milk bottle and the milk within it. Even Ishi's hand began to exude bursts of black smoke, and Lin was dumbstruck. When he came to his senses, he immediately rapped Kieran on the head. Don't be rude. Ishi didn't take offense. He looked at his hand, then at Lin, and he took a deep breath before exclaiming in amazement, I'm a return to Void Stage Cultivator, but this baby was able to injure me. To think that a Soul Formation Stage Cultivator and a Pill Spirit Cultivator would be this powerful. My horizons have truly been broadened. Ishi became even more determined in his path as he spoke, as if he had found a pillar of support. And Kieran began to bawl again after being rapped on the head by Lin. And Lin stared at the golden baby in his hand with a pained expression, and he couldn't stop his tears no matter how hard he tried. Mr. Ishi, please refine another third-grade immortal pill, the Heavenly Scorching Realm pill. He heaved a forlorn sigh. He had no choice but to continue with this experiment. Don't worry, Mr. Lin. Leave it to me, Ishi said with an elated expression. Concocting a grade 3 immortal pill was even more exhausting. After 2 whole hours, Ishi finally finished concocting the Thousand Sun World incinerating pill. As soon as the Thousand Sun Realm burning pill appeared, the entire space was suddenly filled with the scene of 10,000 flames burning a world. The pill's energy rippled out for thousands of meters. Ishi unleashed a spell technique to suppress the power of the immortal pill before tossing it toward Lin. And Lin looked at the pure gold immortal pill in his hand and took in a deep breath. This was an immortal pill that was worth 800,000 spirit stones. He mustn't let it go to waste just like that. And Lin tried to communicate with the golden baby while he was refining the elixir, but the golden baby could only say a few simple words and did not know anything else. Open your mouth, and Lin ordered. The golden baby obediently opened his mouth, revealing a row of translucent white teeth and a little golden tongue. A pained expression flashed across Lin's face as he placed the Thousand Sun World incinerating pill into the golden baby's mouth. Gulp! The golden baby casually swallowed the pill into his stomach. Ishi's body trembled violently upon seeing this, and his round body rippled with excitement. This is the pill spirit domain. Ishi clawed at his face with both hands as he yelled with excitement, Ah! I didn't think I would be able to witness such a glorious moment in history. PFFF. Another resounding boom erupted. A round crimson-golden immortal pill spat out from the golden baby's bottom and rolled onto the ground. The golden baby sucked on his thumb as he looked at Lin with an innocent expression. Ishi and Lin silently picked up the Thousand Sun World incinerating pill and murmured to himself. As expected, consuming it directly has no effect. He turned to Kieran and commanded, Return to my sea of vital energy first. And Kieran blinked blankly as he cocked his little head to the side and babbled, as if he couldn't understand what Lin was saying. And Lin suddenly thought of something, and he sliced open his finger to release a drop of blood essence. Sure enough, and Kieran immediately became excited upon seeing the drop of blood essence, and he swallowed it in one gulp. Mr. Lin, why are you doing this? Ishi asked curiously. It's called Pill Spirit Domain Recovery. And Lin couldn't be bothered to explain, and he made up a story along Ishi's lines. Ishi's eyes lit up again as he looked at the golden baby with anticipation in his eyes. Then, the golden baby's eyes widened as he frothed at the mouth, and his stomach began to swell. Bam! The golden baby exploded. Ishi collapsed to the ground with his mouth gaping open in shock. The golden light transformed into energy that surged toward Lin again before fusing into a sea of vital energy and taking shape again. Mr. Lin, are you trying to kill me? Ishi was unable to comprehend what was happening. No, did you really achieve enlightenment? And Lin looked at Ishi with a profound expression. Ishi faltered upon hearing this. He thought back to the baby's bulging body. Wasn't that the same as his? Could it be that the golden baby's explosion signified rebirth? Thank you, Senior and Lin, for your guidance. Did Ishi achieve enlightenment? Ishi bowed his head in excitement. And Lin blinked as he exclaimed in his mind, I was just flexing, and you achieved enlightenment? He decided not to think about this anymore. Instead, he placed the 1,000-sun realm scorching pill in his mouth and prepared to swallow it. However, he suddenly thought back to the scene where the golden baby had pulled out this immortal pill, and Lin looked at Ishi. Ishi, I have a question for you. What is it? Go ahead, Senior and Lin. Ishi was in the mood for enlightenment, so he was very forthcoming. And Lin asked, Can I return this immortal pill? Ishi and Lin continued, You can exchange it for another one. Ishi finally understood why Lin didn't like this immortal pill. He heaved a resigned sigh. Once sold, no refunds are allowed. We only accept additional cleaning services. Even though the immortal pill wasn't dirty, and Lin still insisted on washing it with the Jade Lake holy water from the Celestial Court before swallowing it. The power of this immortal pill was absolutely terrifying, and the energy within it threatened to burst out of his body. Under the effect of the evergreen technique, the flame power within the immortal pill was split into two streams. One stream flowed toward the 4 divine flames, making the power of the divine flames even more boundless. The other stream flowed toward the sea of vital energy, where the power of the heavenly flames converged to form a flaming disk that illuminated the entire space like a sun. In the next instant, the golden baby's eyes glowed with a golden light, and he devoured the sun above the sea of vital energy with an excited expression. Boom! The space within the sea of vital energy tremored again. Immediately afterward, the insignia of a sun appeared on the golden baby's forehead. At the same time, a number suddenly appeared on his chest. The number jumped from 161 to 182, and 3 Tai Chu characters also appeared. Full sun. And Lin heaved a sigh of relief upon seeing this, and he began to focus on digesting the power of the pill. Among the 3 powers of sun, moon, and frost, the golden baby's body weight increased slightly by 0.2 after eating the power of the sun and moon, but it only increased by 0.1 after eating the power of frost. This was most likely related to the type of energy rather than the amount. After all, the golden baby wouldn't eat the power of sun, moon, and frost anymore. Perhaps it was a coincidence, but there was only one type of pill left that could form a ball of energy in the sea of vital energy. It was a second-grade immortal pill, the extreme soul pill. At this rate, there was a very good chance that the golden baby's body weight would increase to 2 kilograms after eating this immortal pill, thereby progressing to the soul formation intermediate stage. Chapter 391. Lin repressed the excitement in his heart. Senior Ishi, please refine a second-grade immortal pill, the extreme soul pill. Ishi was sweating profusely from exhaustion, but he was full of energy. He swallowed a blood spirit pill and nodded. Sure, no problem. However, I still have to tell you that the extreme soul life-extinguishing pill costs 6 million spirit stones. And Lin's body swayed upon hearing this. How can it be so expensive? The 3 immortal pills only cost 4 million spirit stones in total, but this second-grade immortal pill costs 565 spirit stones. Ishi rolled his eyes. The main ingredient for the extreme soul pill is the dark true water herb. There are only 2 of them in the Do Shui Palace, so they're naturally extremely valuable. Furthermore, this immortal pill is at the pinnacle of the second grade, so it's on the same level as the ultimate creation pill. That's why it's so expensive. Never would Lin have thought that there would be an accident at the last step, and the reason was because he had no money. Tycoon and Lin couldn't accept this. He originally had 6 million spirit stones in his storage ring, and the 3 immortal pills had cost him 1,400,000 spirit stones. In other words, he only had 4,600,000 spirit stones left, which was 1 million spirit stones short of the 5,600,000 spirit stones required for the immortal pills. Are there no other pills that can generate energy in one sea of vital energy? And Lin asked reluctantly. Ishi shook his head. With my current abilities, I can't find any other pills that can generate energy in one sea of vital energy. However, I've heard that the holy vermilion flame of the vermilion bird sect is able to generate energy in one sea of vital energy through a certain method. Enlin nodded upon hearing this and made a mental note of this. Mr. Enlin, are you going to continue to feed immortal pills to the domain-type pill spirit? Ishi's eyes lit up. If you can lend me 1 million spirit stones, I'll consider it. Enlin gritted his teeth before replying. In the cultivation world, cultivation base was the most important factor. With strength, it would be easier to earn money. Therefore, Enlin would not hesitate to raise his cultivation level. Ishi heaved a forlorn sigh upon hearing Enlin's words. Your brother is poor. I still owe someone over 3 million spirit stones. Enlin was shocked to hear this. Senior Ishi, you're the leader of the Do Shui Palace, a place that doesn't lack money, yet you're still calling yourself poor? How could he owe others so much money? Ishi puffed out his belly and replied, That's because I've sacrificed too much for my own path. I'll die with no regrets. And Lin, speak human language. Ishi replied with a resigned expression. I ate too many spirit pills and immortal pills. Where do you think I got my figure? But for the Tao of alchemy that I pursue, I will not give up on this path. And Lin looked at Ishi's round figure and came to his senses. All of this meat was made from spirit pills and immortal pills. How much would that cost? He drew a sharp intake of breath and clasped his hands in farewell. His breakthrough to the soul formation intermediate stage would probably have to be delayed. And Lin returned to his dorm room and continued to digest the leftover medicinal effects in his body. He swallowed 3 immortal pills in a row, which were immensely beneficial to his body. The biggest reward was that the divine flame within his body had improved and the golden baby's weight had increased to 182 kilograms. He was only one step away from completing his mission. U2 was sleeping soundly in a small room, muttering things like, potato chips are delicious. I won't have to worry about getting fat anymore. And Lin did not disturb U2's rest. Instead, he pondered over how he was going to complete this arduous mission. He was short on money, and the first person he thought of was Lin Junjun. He didn't know if she had any money right now. This method of gaining weight through eating immortal pills was far too distressing. Over 5 million spirit stones was more than the net worth of a return to void stage mighty figure. So Enlin was quite reluctant to use this method. The second method was the holy vermilion flame. The holy vermilion flame could form a holy flame within one sea of vital energy, but this holy flame was definitely very important in the sect, and not just anyone could use it. As an outsider, there was a very slim chance that he would be able to use it. Even if he was Su Xiaolan's Dao partner, it was probably unlikely that he would be able to use it. Could he do this through a back door? And Lin wasn't sure, so he could only ask Su Xiaolan first. In the evening, after Su Xiaolan's class ended, and Lin went to find her. Xiaolan, tell me about the holy vermilion flame in your sect, and Lin said as he ate the food that Su Xiaolan had brought from the cafeteria. Su Xiaolan looked at Lin with a hint of bewilderment in her eyes. You're finally going to try and get your hands on the holy flame of my sect? You're not going to eat it, are you? And Lin almost choked on his food upon hearing this. Oi, am I that kind of person in your eyes? Su Xiaolan glared at Lin before speaking with a serious expression. You even dare to eat the 4 divine flames, so it's not impossible for you to eat the holy flame of the vermilion bird sect. I'm on good terms with you, but I can't take the side of tyrant. And Lin's lips twitched, and he didn't know how to refute this. All right, I heard that the holy vermilion flame can form a holy flame in a cultivator's sea of vital energy. Is that true? Yes, it's true. I have it in my sea of vital energy, Su Xiaolan replied in a slow voice as she chewed on her food. And Lin was instantly excited upon hearing this. Then can I also make the holy vermilion flame form a holy flame in my sea of vital energy? Su Xiaolan looked up at Enlin with a serious expression. After a few moments, she replied, "First, you have to be a core disciple of the Vermilion Bird sect. Second, you have to pass the trial of the Vermilion Bird Trial Grounds. Third, you have to obtain the approval of the Holy Vermilion Flame." Enlin thought about it for a moment. There seemed to be a lot of requirements, so he asked, "Can I go through the back door?" Su Xiaolan rolled her eyes. "Big brother, do you think your family owns the Vermilion Bird sect? Do you think there are so many back doors? Does your family own the Vermilion Bird sect?" And Lin's eyes lit up with a teasing smile. To his surprise, a hint of dejection flashed across Su Xiaolan's eyes upon hearing this. And Lin cursed in his heart. His words seemed to have reminded Su Xiaolan of something bad. Su Xiaolan smiled. "How about this? I'm going back to the sect next month. Come with me, I'll ask around for you." "There's no need for that. I was just mentioning in passing. Don't take it to heart." And Lin didn't want to trouble Su Xiaolan with this matter after seeing her expression flash past his eyes. "That's settled then. Let's eat." A faint smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face as she cut off Lin's words. Aside from the fact that Su Xiaolan's father was a member of the Dragon Tribe and her mother was a member of the Vermilion Bird sect, and Lin didn't know anything else. He wasn't going to ask about it, and Su Xiaolan hadn't mentioned it either. "Xiaolan, tomorrow is the free-for-all battle. What place do you plan to get?" "I don't have any goals. Top 10 is enough." "Then you really don't have any goals. With your strength, you should at least be in the top 5. "We'll see. I'm not like you. You've already secured first place. Please go easy on me, Earth Immortal and Lin." "No problem. I only bully others, not you." Chapter 392. The annual free-for-all battle was about to begin, and you two temporarily returned to the Moon Palace to show Chang'e the results of her weight loss. Tens of thousands of students were gathered on the White Jade Square. This opening ceremony was still hosted by Vice Principal Yuhua, and the principal did not appear even once. And Lin felt that he might not be able to see the principal for the next 5 years. In the school's Hall of Fame, the principal's portrait looked like an elegant and cultured person, but he didn't know what he was like in person. He looked at the youthful students in the square and felt a little emotional. Back when he was a freshman, it was extremely difficult for him to get into the top 100 of the Immortal Rankings board. Now that he was in his 3rd year of university, he was aiming for the top spot on the Immortal Rankings board. Sigh. Unknowingly, he already had the feeling that he was at the peak. Being invincible is so lonely. Soon, a huge teleportation formation began to take shape. Close to 50,000 students were teleported to the forest of 1,000 peaks at the same time, and the next free-for-all battle began. And Lin looked up at the sky, where there was a faint barrier of light. He could even feel the aura of the teacher in charge of the combat strength assessment nearby. When he was at the spirit nurturing stage last year, he couldn't sense his teacher's presence. Once he reached the deity severing stage, his divine sense would become extremely powerful. From the flow of heaven and earth essence chi to the microorganisms on a withered leaf, he would be able to observe everything with his divine sense. And Lin chuckled, clenched his fists, and said, "Trash now. I'll let you experience the fear of being dominated by me." And Lin, ding dong. At this moment, the system beeped at an untimely time, and Lin was stunned. He turned his attention to the system and saw that the special mission was flashing nonstop. He opened the special quest tab, and a series of words appeared in his mind. Detected that the host has entered the forest of 1,000 peaks. Now assigning the mission, be low-key, I'll help you become immortal. Mission details, keep a low profile, drop out of the top 100 of the Immortal Rankings board, and help Su Xiaolan become number 1. Mission success, 1 chance to draw a magic treasure. Mission failure, eunuch for 3 years. Note, this quest cannot be declined. And Lin almost fainted when he saw the penalty for failing the mission. What did being a eunuch for 3 years mean? Could it grow back after 3 years of being eunuchs? No, that was not the point. The point was that the system was becoming more and more shameless. How good was impotence? Why did he have to be a eunuch? And Lin gritted his teeth at the sight of the flirtatious system. He wished he could smash it. I've finally advanced to the soul formation stage, and it's time for me to act cool. Yeah, you're talking to me about keeping a low profile? Low profile your sister. It was in Lin Sr. First year class 5, Yang Wei, please enlighten me. A tall and thin man in a green robe appeared in front of Lin and bowed with a fanatical expression. In his eyes, it was an honor to be able to exchange blows with a legendary figure. And Lin's balls were aching at the sight of him. Impotence? Please enlighten me? I'll teach your sister's impotence. I don't have any knowledge about impotence. Did the heavens send you here to deal with me? And Lin suddenly recalled the system's special mission. The mission stated that he couldn't rank within the top 100 on the Immortal Rankings board, so his combat capability and achievement points had to be kept within a certain range. He had to use them in critical situations and avoid meaningless battles. Yang Wei faltered slightly at the lack of response from Lin. He thought that Lin hadn't heard him clearly, so he issued another challenge. Senior Lin, I am first year class 5, Yang Wei. Please enlighten me. Lin shook his head. I'm not Lin. You got the wrong person. He rose into the air atop his brick as he spoke, sweeping up a cloud of dust and debris in his wake. Yang Wei. He stared at the figure disappearing into the clouds with a dumbstruck expression. You got the wrong person? Who are you trying to fool? He worshipped Senior Lin's portrait every day, so how could he forget Lin's face? Furthermore, aside from Senior Lin, what kind of weirdo would fly atop a black brick? Yang Wei seemed to have realized something, and his body swayed slightly as a dejected expression appeared on his face. Could it be that I don't even have the right to challenge Senior Lin? At the same time, Lin was flying through the air atop his brick. The only thing on his mind right now was the system's mission. It would be easy for him to drop out of the top 100 as long as he didn't get into a fight. However, at the same time, he had to complete the mission to help Su Xiaolan rank first on the Immortal Rankings board. In terms of power, it was not an issue for Su Xiaolan to rank within the top 5 on the Immortal Rankings board. However, if she wanted to rank first on the Immortal Rankings board, she would have to face several competitors, and Lin just so happened to know most of them. Lu Qianhuan, Xinyuan Cheng, Su Qinyan, Tang Shimin, and Zhu Qiubing. It could be said that all 5 of them could pose a threat to Su Xiaolan, and there was no need to even mention the first 4. The last one was Zhu Qiubing, who was in the same cohort as Lu Qianhuan. He was overshadowed by Lu Qianhuan's dazzling performance, but he was still a seasoned veteran. Apparently, he had attained his own lightning domain after observing the Golden Void lightning Kirin on the day of Lin's Tribulation Transcendence, thereby making him the second half-step soul formation stage cultivator in the entire university. This was quite a sensational event, but it was a pity that all the students and teachers were talking about Lin, so his brilliance was overshadowed again. And Lin thought about it for a moment before deciding to list him as the second most dangerous person. The most dangerous person was naturally Lu Qianhuan. If she used her sword, Su Xiaolan had a very slim chance of winning. After a short while, the sound of spell techniques exploding erupted from the ground again. And Lin looked down to discover that it was a battle between 2 students of the Dao Body stage. A male student of the 9th stage Dao Body was actually able to defeat a male student of the 10th stage Dao Body. This reminded him of the free-for-all battle he had participated in for the first time. At that time, he had also valiantly defeated opponents of a higher rank than him. The male student of the 9th stage Dao Body had won by a hair's breadth. His body was already riddled with injuries, and his aura was also extremely weak. And Lin was indescribably excited upon seeing this, and a golden light burst forth from his fist. In the end, Lin still forced himself to stop. His expression became tranquil again as he shook his head and sighed. The current me will no longer take advantage of others when they're down and resort to unscrupulous means to achieve my goals. Perhaps this is what it means to grow. I can't expose my strength, and I have to avoid earning achievement points as much as possible. He glanced at the students on the ground before flying away on his brick and searching around the forest of 1,000 peaks. The forest of 1,000 peaks was extremely large. Even though one could fly, it was still extremely difficult to find someone. Only when the enchantment barrier of the Immortal Rankings board shrank on the third day would it truly become a fierce battle between the powerful beings on the Immortal Rankings board. In the vast forest, Unlin continued to search for his target as he prayed incessantly in his heart for Su Xiaolan to give it her all and hold on until the end. If anything were to happen to her, then he wouldn't be able to live anymore. Chapter 393. Unlin flew through the air atop his black brick and witnessed countless battles taking place. Suppressing his desire to fight, he continued to search for traces of his targets. During this time, Unlin encountered a few spirit-nurturing stage students who were using sword kinesis flight. They all tactfully avoided Unlin after seeing him. Although it was very thrilling to battle a Soul Formation stage senior, they still wanted to earn some achievement points first in order to secure a good ranking. If they encountered each other on the last day, these spirit-nurturing stage students would definitely pounce on him without hesitation. Boom! An earth-shattering boom suddenly erupted in the distance. Unlin's expression became serious as he immediately changed directions and flew toward the northeast. Another black sword light soared into the sky, directly slicing apart a nearby mountain. This was a battle between two spirit-nurturing stage cultivators. Unlin flew over on his brick and saw Yao Mingxi and Tang Shimin engaged in battle. He was a little surprised. Battles between spirit-nurturing stage cultivators usually wouldn't erupt so early in the competition. The first day was the time to earn achievement points, so why were they fighting now? Tang Shimin was one of the most powerful cultivators on the Immortal Rankings board after all, and he was able to completely suppress Yao Mingxi with his extraordinary sword techniques. However, Yao Mingxi was fearless. Even though he was already injured, his sword techniques were becoming more and more powerful. Senior Tang, this next technique was invented by my little sister. I'll use it to pay you back. Yao Mingxi suddenly stepped back, and a black aura burst forth from his divine weapon, Dark Flash Sword, as if a true demon were roaring. Ha ha ha! Bring it on. I'll send you two to the plaza. Tang Shimin laughed heartily as a crimson glow surged from his longsword. Unlin finally had a rough idea of what was going on. Yao Xiao had just progressed to the spirit-nurturing stage and was then bullied by Tang Shimin. Yao Mingxi just so happened to be nearby, so the two of them began a fight. Song of Wind, Demon Sealing Tune. Yao Mingxi's sword fell, and gale force winds suddenly erupted around him. A black sword projection crashed down upon Tang Shimin like flowing water. Within this black water sword projection, there was an extremely powerful golden light imbued with the intent of sealing. Bring it on! Tang Shimin roared as he slashed his sword toward the black water sword projection. A crimson sword projection pierced through the sky. Rumble! Two terrifying sword lights collided, shattering the space within a radius of several dozen feet. In the end, it was Tang Shimin's technique that came out on top. The crimson light shattered the black water sword projection, and even the golden light within it was pulverized. Yao Mingxi was struck by the sword light and suffered a heavy blow to his body, causing him to vomit blood and tumble to the ground. Tang Shimin took this opportunity to pounce toward Yao Mingxi again. Unlin watched with great interest. At this time, another powerful aura approached from behind. Yo, Unlin, are you preparing to deal the finishing blow again? A clear and melodious voice rang out, carrying a hint of ridicule. Unlin looked behind him to discover an extremely beautiful woman flying toward him atop a six-feathered staff. Unlin panicked. He hadn't even thought of a way to deal with Tang Shimin when Lu Qianhuan, his number one most dangerous target, appeared here. This made the situation even more complicated. Do you think a prodigy like me would deal the finishing blow? Unlin forced himself to calm down as he replied in a righteous manner. Ah, aren't you ashamed to say something like that from the mouth of a killing machine? Lu Qianhuan smiled like a blossoming flower as she looked down at the battle below with interest. Unlin heaved a sigh of relief upon seeing that Lu Qianhuan had no intention of fighting him. A thought then occurred to him, and he said, Lu Qianhuan, How about I leave this Tang Shimen to you to finish off? Lu Qianhuan faltered slightly upon hearing this, before looking at Enlin suspiciously. I don't want to. Enlin blinked in confusion. Why? I'm offering this to you, and you're still refusing? I'm not an idiot. You're the most dangerous person here. If I expend too much energy to deal with Tang Shimen, wouldn't you be the one to reap the benefits? Lu Qianhuan looked at Enlin as if she had seen through everything. Enlin was dumbstruck by her words. Lu Qianhuan continued, I'm still waiting for you to battle Tang Shimen. Then I'll find a chance to eliminate you. Enlin was very tired, but he didn't know what to do. He looked down at Yao Mingxi to find that his defeat judgment seal had already been knocked out by Tang Shimen. If things continued like this, Tang Shimen was going to get away. Enlin gritted his teeth. Kill Tang Shimen for me, and I'll play games with you for the entire day. Lu Qianhuan's purple eyes flashed before she asked with uncertainty, Are you crazy? What benefit would I get from killing Tang Shimen? Could it be that you really want to take advantage of my weakness to finish me off? Enlin looked at Lu Qianhuan with a serious expression. Do I look like the type of person who would finish you off? Where's our friendship? I just want to find an excuse to play games with you. Lu Qianhuan muttered under her breath. Are you trying to trick a child? She turned her head away, but a faint blush appeared on her snowy cheeks. Tang Shimen's sleeves had already been shredded by Yao Xiao and Yao Mingxi's battles, and his entire right arm was stained with blood. There was even a sword wound on his abdomen, but these injuries didn't affect him much. The only thing that surprised him was that he seemed to have expended a lot of vital energy. 5th year class 5, Lu Qianhuan, please enlighten me. A girl with short pink hair descended from the sky atop a 6-feathered staff, and her clear voice caused Tang Shimen's body to tremble in fear. Tang Shimen looked at Lu Qianhuan, who was surging with battle intent, before turning to look at Enlin in the sky with a bitter expression. Lu Qianhuan, why are you bullying me? How can this be called bullying, junior student Tang? The free-for-all battle is all about freedom. You can fight if you want and land the killing blow if you want. That's freedom. Lu Qianhuan raised her head with a smile. That last sentence is the main point. Tang Shimen's lips twitched. Cut the crap. Seeing as we fought together in the past, I won't use my sword. Lu Qianhuan's staff was already glowing with a white light. Tang Shimen heaved a forlorn sigh as he unsheathed his sword. A red light tore through the earth as he instantly slashed toward Lu Qianhuan. Lu Qianhuan's body suddenly transformed into white mist before drifting to the side to evade the sword strike. Then, she quickly materialized again before hurling a white ball of light from her staff. Tang Shimen immediately retreated upon seeing this. Boom! The ball of light exploded, sending a cloud of dust and smoke into the air. Tang Shimen used his senses to unleash a dozen or so sword strikes in the air. Crimson flaming sword projections imbued with peerless power tore through the dust and created a series of trenches in the ground. The dust and smoke dispersed, but Lu Qianhuan's figure was nowhere to be seen. All of a sudden, the hair on Tang Shimen's body stood on end, and he turned around without hesitation before raising his long sword in front of him. A pink pillar of energy suddenly crashed into Tang Shimen's long sword like a laser cannon. A powerful explosion erupted, pulverizing everything within a radius of over 1,000 feet. In the sky above, Enlin sat on a brick and looked down at the battle on the ground with an indifferent expression. Lu Qianhuan's Mist Immortal technique was even better than his, and she was extremely elusive. Tang Shimen's vital energy had been completely depleted, so he probably didn't even have the ability to harm Lu Qianhuan. The battle was still ongoing, but it was already clear that Tang Shimen was losing. Finally, after unleashing an extremely terrifying crimson sword strike to wound Lu Qianhuan's arm, he was struck by the final spark again, and he fell feebly to the ground. Lu Qianhuan rose onto her staff again before arriving before Enlin. Enlin's brows furrowed slightly at the sight of the wound on her arm. Are you all right? If I told you that I was severely injured, would you take the opportunity to attack me? Lu Qianhuan chuckled. Enlin rolled his eyes. Am I that kind of person? Stop wasting time and go play some games. Where are we going? Lucian One asked. Same old place, Black Rock Peak.